Proving that the fandom menace isn't just a bunch of toxic white males. It's toxic femininity on Midnight's Edge. With me tonight, you have the lovely Alora, OG Star Wars Legends gal, the lovely Geeky Candy, and of course our mistress of ceremonies, Mary Mayhem herself. How are you ladies doing tonight?
Hi, Tom.
Hi.
I'm pretty good.
Holy shit. Feeling about as toxic as a Disney casting couch tonight.
Oh, I love those little one-liners.
Yes, I said it.
Come
at me, y'all.
I say it again. What the hell, man?
Yeah, I always love coming up with a new one. It's getting kind of tough sometimes, but I just kind of take a look around. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good one. Okay.
There I go. That's toxic.
Yes,
toxic.
Quite toxic. Mm-hmm.
It's all toxic. What's up, Teresa Martin? We got a $4.99 super chat from Teresa Martin to start this show off. Good evening, toxic females. Coming from another wonderful toxic female in the Fandom Menace community. Thanks so much for the love, my dear. We love you.
And she bought she's my first merch buyer. So she's the very first one to buy my merch, OG Star Wars merch. So thank you so much.
Dude, I got to get on that. I haven't even sold a single piece of merch yet. Anyway,
what's merch?
That's me. What's merch? You got a great shtick for merch. You're Geeky Candy. Candy thing. So, oh my God. Well, Tom, do you want to intro any of this, or do you want us to just jump straight?
Well, tonight we're going to talk about pretty much one thing and one thing only. Hopefully those of you in the audience got a chance to see Robert Burnett's broadcast earlier, because it was a doozy. But we're going to talk a little bit about that in just a little bit.
Holy Toledo, guys. It was a shitstorm today.
We've got a pickle for you.
Yes.
It's quite a pickle.
Pickle me this, pickle me that.
Mm-hmm.
You like them pickles? We do.
So here's how this is going to go down tonight, guys, because we're going to go over this, and we're going to go over this again. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to give you a brief layout here of exactly what we're looking at, and then after we've given you the layout, and I say brief, we're going to try to make it brief because, man, but this is a doozy, and then we're going to go back over this. Okay, so even if you don't hear one specific part of this, or you miss portions of it, don't fret, don't worry, my dearies in the chat. We're going to go back over this from beginning to end, and then we're going to break this down and discuss it. We're here kind of processing this ourselves because this was an absolute hammer that got dropped for us today.
Yeah, so we literally had none of this planned on the show until about 4 hours ago. So
no, we were going to talk about Finn being a troll king. We thought
we were talking about box office. What? Who gives a shit about that anymore? Damn.
Yeah, the box office. This is what we could have had.
And no, we're giving you A-level content. Let all those other channels tell you about what's going on at the box office. We got some better shit for you tonight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yes. And forget about the JJ cut, because this is awesome.
Oh, we got to come up with a good name for the Colin Trevorrow cut now.
Yes.
I'll be thinking about that while we talk about it.
The colon cleaner, the colon cleaner,
the colon cleaner.
I don't know, something. This
is better than the
colon cleansing.
The colon cleansing. Oh!
Okay. Interesting.
Freaking Tom in for the win on that one. And yeah, you can ship Candy and I all day long, Grand Admiral Adam. I'm good with that. So let me break this down for you guys. For those of you who do not know or may need a little refresher, Colin Trevorrow was originally slated to write and direct the episode 9 of Star Wars of the Skywalker saga, right? He was originally the one who we were supposed to get. Then he was dismissed, citing creative differences. Sure, that's what it was, KK. Yeah, friggin' feminazi. So KK basically ousted him. They couldn't come to a place where they couldn't come to a place where they could agree on what exactly they should do with episode 9. And apparently what episode 9 would have been called, had Colin Trevorrow had his way and had his screenplay, it would have been called The Duel of Fates.
Best title ever.
Yes.
Already. I was like, holy shit. That's like one of my favorite songs. And it makes total sense. This convergence of, the so-called good and evil, instead of trying to throw it off as a Skywalker saga when she clearly is nothing like Luke. What the hell? Why? I can't wait for y'all to go through this because I'm just like, why, Disney, did you choose what you chose?
We are all chomping at the bit to go through this, guys. So we are going to briefly break this down, and then we're going to go back through it piece by piece, and then we're going to really break it down. So overview, then breakdown for you guys. So he was ousted, of course, Colin Trevorrow, citing creative differences, and everybody knows that his vision didn't align with Rian Johnson's, which I think is something crazy to say, because once we get this out here for you guys, I would say that it aligned far better than The Rise of Skywalker ever did, which just proves how much insanity was going on behind the scenes of all of this. So as Robert Meyer Burnett puts this isn't rumor or speculation. He says this is not rumor. This is not speculation. This is not something that you should take with a grain of salt. Nevertheless, he's not going to release the script. It doesn't exist anymore. You can't have it because it's not around. But he says you don't need to take it with a grain of salt because it is fact. And I tend to believe Robert Meyer Burnett. But since, of course, we only have his word, you are welcome to take it with a grain of salt. I personally, I'm good. I'm happily willing to take this as gospel in terms of the script that he read. So apparently the movie opens to our main heroes all running around on Kuwait.
Yeah.
So this is a throwback to the expanded universe and something that many of you may be very familiar with. Sorry, we do have a $2 super chat from Matt G. He says, Mary, you might have to start drinking shenanigans. Not tonight. This is not
that was enough without a drink.
So apparently our main cast is all running around Quat, and what they're attempting to do is do some blowing up stuff. They're going to blow some stuff up, and it does not go the way that they had planned. This isn't going to go the way you think. They are thwarted by the First Order, and they just barely get out of there with their lives. Apparently,
real quick, Mary. Sorry. I'm gonna show the opening crawl if you wanted that first.
Yes.
Okay. You can keep talking, but I just want to make sure that Tom, I'm gonna try to have that up here in just a second. So
yes. I didn't actually have the screenshot of that. I thought either you or Laura had it.
It's on there.
If you want to throw that up for us, we'll go ahead and give you the layout for this, which I really liked the opening scroll or the opening text scroll. Obviously not that we got it in that format, but we did get an opening text scroll. And if you want, I can pull it up here and read it from my Twitter, since I don't actually see it.
Can you say that again?
If I can find.
I've got it. I can read it here if you want it. Even if
sorry. I'm really slow at this part. Let me see if I can.
Kevin Rubio, so you're doing a breakdown of Robert Meyer Burnett's script of a script that may exist. Yes, we are.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to break it down, and then we're going to discuss we're going to try to sort of process this with you guys and let you know where we stand on it. Personally, I'll save my opinions for once we get rolling into the breakdown portion of this show. So this is, as we understand it, the crawl that we would have gotten. So episode 9, Duel of the Fates. The iron grip of the First Order has spread to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Only a few scattered planets remain unoccupied. Traitorous acts are punishable by death, and it does come back to that. Determined to suffocate a growing unrest, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren has silenced all communication between neighboring systems. Led by Leo Organa, the Resistance has planned a secret mission to prevent their annihilation and forge a path to freedom. Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. Mary. Hey, speaking of,
I had to wait to give her that moment. I had to see that face. Welcome, Robert.
I was reading from a different screen. What the hell?
Hello.
Hi.
How are you, ladies?
We said your name 3 times by now. So, like Beetlejuice, you just appeared.
I just appeared.
I appreciate that.
I just am told to show up here, and I just show up.
Nice.
Tom said you should jump on. I had no idea. I figured it's a whole new crew.
Yeah.
This is
That's
Toxic Femininity.
Robert.
Welcome to the Girl Squad. You are a honorary member tonight.
Well,
Robert. I hope you don't mind.
I'm happy to be here.
You don't even have to wear a wig. We're just so thrilled you're here.
Yes,
Well,
thank you
yes.
for coming in.
This is it's very thrilling. I didn't know Midnight's Edge had this you guys are lucky. Well, you girls are even luckier, I guess. It's amazing. I had no idea. You Midnight's Edge people have been holding out on me.
We usually are just figments of people's imagination, so I'm glad you got to witness us firsthand.
As the intro says, the toxic or the fandom menace is not made up of just toxic white males. So
That's a relief.
Plenty of
Lots of toxic females as well.
Yes.
Yes, you were reading. I noticed you were reading the crawl.
Yes.
Crawl from the script that I may or may not have.
Yeah, it may or may not exist, like us on the show. You know,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because women are a myth on the internet.
Yeah. It was very interesting.
Yeah. We all studied you today, just so you know.
Oh,
did.
I
watched you very well.
You were the homework.
Well, I didn't do a very good job, I think, of explaining the script because there's a lot more in it that I don't think I did the script justice. I thought this version of the script is really, really good. And I'm perplexed at why it wasn't. I mean, literally the draft was dated right before Carrie Fisher passed away. So I can understand why changes were made, but there is so much good stuff in this script that I don't think I did a good job of explaining it.
It felt like there was conceptual cohesion.
Yeah.
Which that's the big thing for me.
No, there absolutely was. And what I think was great was, since this is Toxic Femininity, I should say that all the women in this script were written really well. Even Rose Tico. Yeah. Rose has a great journey. Ray is great. And Leia was also incredible. Mm-hmm. And everything, what was really interesting about this draft is everything is set up and paid off. It's all character. Yeah. And everybody has their moments. Mm-hmm. And while it's a big, huge, sprawling script, it was still character based, and it gave us everything that we love from Star Wars. And I guess the whole thing just perplexes me why they didn't go with this draft. Yes. I want to know what was wrong. What did the Lucasfilm story group not like about this?
That was something that blew my mind about it, because they were citing creative differences, but this went so much better. This went so much more hand in hand with The Last Jedi than what we got in The Rise of Skywalker. What we got in The Rise of Skywalker is complete garble.
Is that Gilbert over there?
That is Gilbert and Tallulah. It is absolutely.
They want to be on the show.
They come on, Tallulah. Well, Tallulah is a lady, and when I think of Toxic Femininity, I think of Tallulah because she's lovely, aren't you? Yes, you are. She's very loquacious. But I thought it was really, really interesting. I mean, the script was, and clearly you can see that a lot of what J.J. Abrams did was taken from this draft. They just rejiggered things and made them less cohesive.
Yeah, that was the weird part, is that they decided to make it less cohesive than what it was in this particular draft here. Like this flowed so much better.
You didn't even need a wayfinder to get from point to point.
Or another MacGuffin, or this MacGuffin, or that MacGuffin that'll get you to that MacGuffin, and then you can go over here. Like, no, this absolutely, and I felt like they did a decent job of doing justice to a character like Rey and like Finn, who had no justice prior to this, right?
Well, one of the things that I didn't talk about really very much in this script, there is this flirtatious relationship between Poe and Rey, and Poe is always trying to make some time with Rey, like, hey baby, what's up? And Rey has none of it. She's constantly saying to him, look, this isn't the time. And she's saying this throughout the whole script. And when she's going to leave and go off on her own, and it's the last time she's going to see Poe and Chewie, she's trying to get Poe to leave. You've got to go back to the Resistance. And she finally stops and she says, he's not having any of it. And Tallulah, please. She stops she stops and she literally Jedi mind tricks him, and she says, "You will go back to the Resistance, and you will leave and go back to the Resistance." And he's like, "Don't you do that to me. Don't you do that to me." And she keeps doing it. And he's resisting her Jedi mind powers. And it, plays back to obviously Obi-Wan Kenobi and A New Hope. And it's such a great scene. And he's resisting until she finally gets close enough to him where she can actually touch his face. And she says, "You will go back to the Resistance." And she kisses him. She never kisses Kylo in this script. She kisses Poe. And that's when Poe's like, "I will go back to the Resistance." And that's when, and it's so you guys laugh. It's such a great, because it plays off on her powers. It's just so great. It was such a great moment. And it's a Star Wars moment. It's a humorous moment. And it was also showing her powers, but it was really, and that's the last time they see each other until, well, much later. But it was humorous, but it was also a callback. There's a lot of callbacks to early Star Wars in this. And that's what I loved about it. It just felt, because it's all character based. All of these scenes were all these great character moments. There's a great scene in the script where C-3PO kills a First Order droid, an astromech droid. And it's a moment like he's going to plug in and give away their position. And C-3PO actually goes up and goes, I'm terribly sorry. I don't want to do this. And he reaches in and pulls out the guts of
Savage C-3PO. Finally, we got him.
And it was just funny. He's like, I'm very sorry. I'm a terrible droid. And there's all this stuff like that it's real Star Wars humor. And it's great. And this script December of 2016, and it's just I just love this script. And the whole idea about like Coruscant, you have a citizens uprising. It's not the Ewoks. It's actually you finally see what
very
what
Return of the
civilians,
Jedi.
Very Return of the Jedi, and oppressed people. You have oppressed human beings and other beings that are being oppressed by the First Order, and you never get a sense of that in any of the movies. You never see what is the civilian population. I mean, you're either at a den of smugglers, but you're seeing the city of Coruscant where last time on Coruscant,
they attempt to in The Last Jedi, if you remember, with the little slave kids or whatever. They attempt to, but it falls completely and utterly flat because you're focusing on space horses instead. And so I think it's really important to take Finn and Rose even and redeem them in this movie by allowing them to do something significant that has weight and value.
I applaud character building. Give me more. Give me more.
Well, Rose.
Also,
she was
I
great
see
in this.
a bit of Legends, the X-Wing series. If you ever watch or listen to or read Legends, or the old EU books,
right?
X-Wings does have something similar with the Coruscant battles and taking the Coruscant back from the remnants.
Oh, well,
so
yeah.
There's a lot of nods with that too that I have recognized listening to you give us information about the script.
Well, clearly there is a lot of stuff from the EU in this, like the whole idea. I really didn't get into the fact that they have to go to Mortis and there's a Virgins in the Force and all of that. There's a lot of that in this script, and there's things that I was just surprised by how it all ties into the lore.
Yeah.
And it really worked. I mean, they didn't have the only time you see the Sith holocron is in the beginning in Mustafar. You don't have to go and that damages Kylo's face and all of that's the last you see of that thing. They don't need a bunch of those to jump around the galaxy. And it worked really, really well.
And you needed to do something with Kylo Ren in this film because you stripped him. First of all, he was a joke, right? He was a joke. Literally, he was being made fun of by Snoke the entire way through the last movie. And then Snoke is gone. And so now you have no prominent threat in the galaxy. And you need to do something to make Kylo Ren a threat. So having him train under a 7,000-year-old Sith Lord certainly will make him a threat. And then, of course, you've taken away his mask. You've made take off that ridiculous mask. You need to do something else here. And this is absolutely a different path that you can take to make him more intimidating, visually speaking. And so to mess up his face and to be reminiscent of that.
I love the transformation into the monster that his predecessors essentially were. I love the idea of literally smelting, like you said, the Mandalorian Beskar armor to his. I love that. Now that is beautiful imagery for me. I always think that it just, oh man, I wish we had that.
Yeah,
That was great
Like
to
a
watch.
callback to Doctor Doom, who was inspiration for Darth Vader in the first place. So
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. I mean, there's so much going on. I mean, even there's even a reference to Life Day in this. Like there's a Life Day reference in Rise of Skywalker.
Wow. Yeah.
But it came from this script. Like everything that you
there's
like.
moments you can see that from. This is probably why Trevorrow got the writing credit, and this is what I was going to say to you, Robert, before I pop back in the back room like I'm supposed to, like a good little boy.
Yes.
He's our pool boy.
My theory as to what happened here, and I want to hear your take on this. If you think I'm close, off by a long shot, or whatever. And I also got to say, Kevin Rubio sent us $2.99 super chats. First one he said, "Hey Rob," and then this one he said, that may not exist in parentheses.
The script may not exist.
Mm-hmm.
Colin Trevorrow wrote a script.
Mr. Rubio, who of course has a history with Star Wars, and Mr. Burnett as well. But my theory though is that this, as you said, came out. This script is dated the week before Carrie Fisher passed away.
Yeah.
My guess is this is the final draft before or right after he seen the last Jedi script, probably, at least, and I think they're in the midst of filming by this point.
Yeah,
or done filming by this point, because my point is this: I think that the argument came that he felt they had more than enough time to fix the script or fix the Last Jedi so that he could fix his script so that Luke was still alive and Leia was obviously gone since Carrie Fisher sadly had passed away. And Kathleen Kennedy or whoever said, no, this is the way it's going to be. And they stuck to their guns and they had a year to fix it. And Trevorrow's like, well, I have nothing to work with then.
Yeah.
I
loved his idea of doing Force Ghost Luke training Rey. I mean, I hate the fact that it had to be Force Ghost Luke, but that, hey, Rian Johnson did Rian Johnson, so we have Force Ghost Luke. But to CGI Leia, or use B-roll Leia as a
and
filler.
That's why I think this is the case. And I mean, you can tell me if you think I'm wrong or right. Of course, like I said, Robert, but I think this is the case because of that specific reason, is because he's like, I don't have Carrie Fisher. He already wrote around the fact that Luke had died and put him in as a Force ghost, but he's like, I can't do anything that I'd planned to do with Leia because it doesn't exist.
Well, look, it doesn't mean that Luke can't play some role as a Force ghost. Obi-Wan Kenobi certainly played a role as a Force ghost, right? And so you work with what you have, and this feels like an incredibly natural way for things to proceed.
Like the fairy grandmother, or what are they, fairy grand? Disney's good at doing that. That's what they all had now.
Well,
so what do you guys think about Luke also talking with trying to get Kylo turned back to Ben at the same time as training Rey? So he's working both sides.
I think it's in keeping with Luke's character.
I thought it was perfect for the title too, the Duel of the Fates. I thought Luke being in the center of that is beautiful. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things from a literary perspective here. And again, Robert, it's nice to meet you. I'm Candace. I used to teach English. I'm a big fan of writing and reading. I can see Luke being a essential part of this kind of script, with the title being the way it is, with him playing both roles on that, trying to, I guess, in his death, fix the things of his past.
Well, not
in a way through who's still around.
Not only
and
that,
I think it's beautiful.
In mind here, Candace, Luke Skywalker, as we knew him, as we loved him, would not have abandoned his nephew, would not have abandoned his sister, would not have walked away from his family. And so this is certainly in keeping with the Luke Skywalker that I know and loved and grew up. Right? He would have come back to his nephew and he would have said, come back to the light. He certainly did it for his father.
Yeah, he loved his dad, and that's why he did that. This makes so much more sense. Why, Disney? Why?
And even if he couldn't be redeemed, Luke giving up hope on him and Luke ceasing to try to bring him back to the light, that's not something you would have ever sold me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's the only Jedi we see that has that redeeming quality, that hope. And that's why I see like the New Hope, that's basically about him. He is the hope. He's the one that has the redeeming qualities. So it doesn't make sense for him to even go against his own nephew if his nephew's having these Force visions and this dark side quality about him. You would see Luke trying to find solutions for him to help redeem him, help pull him back from that.
Poor Robert's sitting over there submerged.
I have a question for Robert real quick. Was
Yes.
there any other points of like information or anything that you can share regarding Force Ghost Luke or his role that he played other than what you had mentioned in your live stream?
Oh, I can, whatever you want to know. Yeah, sure. Well,
I'd love to hear it.
Well, one of the
Yes.
things that I wanted to say that I thought was interesting, like Hux was turned into this spy for the First Order in Rise of. Well, what was really interesting is you find out that he's appointed himself. He's given himself the title of Chancellor.
Yeah.
And he's presiding over. Well, and when Kylo Ren comes back, they have clearly Kylo Ren has no respect for Hux, and Hux hates Kylo Ren. But I didn't mention was that Hux is trying to tap into the Force, and you see him throughout the film trying to use the Force, and you find out that he actually has lightsabers that he's been collecting, and you don't know
Made
this.
a guillotine out of it or something?
Well, they did, but he's got his own lightsabers. They use light blade weapons, but there's a great scene where Rose Tico has been captured, and she's in the Inquisition Center, and Hux is torturing her, a la Han Solo in Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
And it's a great moment for Rose, and Hux is saying, "Are you comfortable?" And Rose says, "Oh yes," as she's in the torture chair. "Yes, I have one of these at home." And Hux says, "You changed the stolen destroyer's signature code so he couldn't trace it. Give me the new codes." And Rose says, "They told me to pick something easy to remember, like Life Day, but you think this is funny? Very well." He holds out his hand, shuts his eyes, concentrating deep. And Rose says, Are you trying to use the Force on me?" And Hux is like, "Be quiet." "Oh, no. See, you're not special. I mean,
I love
you're
that.
not
So that's like
special at
low-key
all."
comedy. It feels like that underhanded Star Wars comedy that we all recognize instantly. And Hux would have been the carrier for that there. That's great.
Over here getting like goosebumps and feeling that internal rise in your stomach where you're like, oh my God.
I love it.
And some of the MVPs here is the C-3PO R2D2 stuff is insane. I mean, it's hilarious what they're doing. Like just the scene, R2 and 3PO are walking through lasers. A First Order astromech droid, R808, rolls to a scomp terminal on the side of a flipped tank and plugs in. R2 beeps urgently. C-3PO, "He's sending a distress signal. Stop him." No one's listening to C-3PO, but R2 beeps furiously. C-3PO says, "Me, I'm not programmed for violence, R2." Beep. C-3PO steels himself, hustles through the laser fire, and rips open the back of R808. C-3PO, "I do apologize for this." He reaches into the droid's innards and pulls circuits out, and R808 beeps in distress, adding to C-3PO's horror. C-3PO, "Please go quickly." One last yank, and R808 sparks out. And C-3PO says, "I've done some horrible things here. I may never be the same." And I mean, C-3PO just straight up murdered a droid, a First Order droid.
But no, stop and imagine this for 2 seconds. Okay. Instead of taking one last look, sir, at my friends and like the whole world let out a collective cringe groan, right? Instead, you got C-3PO being C-3PO about it, right? But still finding his nuts.
Terminator status.
Locating his ball sack and going over and doing and handling this business, right? Like, I love every bit of that and would exchange it for one last look at my friends. You don't even know these people. You don't even know these people.
And do you realize, like in Return of the Jedi, C-3PO and R2D2 are basically the decoys. So they're still inviting some stuff that's not to his programming, so that they can deter the imps away from Han and everybody. So it's kind of plays into that scenario as well. So
Oh no, it's great. And R2 and
Mhm.
3. Well, I'll get to this. I want to answer your question about Luke, Force Ghost Luke.
Yeah.
I will. Let's see. Okay. The Temple of Mortis. Kylo Ren's long shadow precedes him into the cavern of stone. Statues of the ancients look down into a deep void in the center, sealed with a slab of unpolished marble. Kylo reaches out. The stone slab slides off and falls to the ground with a thud. He looks down into the well beneath the temple, deep into the heart of Mortis, eager for his reward. But it's empty. Nothing. A hole in the ground.
Yeah.
Kylo says no. He searches the rune-covered walls for answers. He finds only arcane sculpted faces looking down at him. He fires his saber and slashes at the statues, scarring the ancients with his rage. Luke, you've lost, Ben. Luke Skywalker steps into the light. A thin blue glow traces his form. You're dead. The Jedi are ghosts. Luke, the dark side has failed you like it failed my father. Kylo, your father was weak.
Mm-hmm.
Luke, his love for his family saved him. I wish it could save you. Luke looks deep into his former student's pained eyes. I did what I had to do. Luke, you chose hate. Kylo, I chose power. Kylo fires his saber and attacks, but Luke catches the blade with his gloved hand, stopping it in midair, stronger than Kylo could possibly imagine. I'll be stronger than any Skywalker has ever been, says Kylo. Their faces are inches away, separated by the red blade. Luke, you are no Skywalker. Rey lies motionless on the stone steps, blind and bleeding in the rain. Then her hand moves, her eyes flutter open. Rey says, Luke. In the Temple of Mortis night, Luke's expression changes, sensing her. Let go, Kylo. You cannot defeat us. Kylo, us? Luke, I am not alone. Obi-Wan was right. Exterior Temple Mount night, Rey drags her shattered body up the temple steps. Her arm gives out, and she collapses. The pain is too much. Luke, we're all connected, all living things. And then it cuts to the Eclipse Star Destroyer that Leia is commanding. Leia looks beyond the battle, feeling Rey's pain. Leia says, Rey. Luke says, the Force surrounds us. And then it goes, there's a lot of stuff going. And then it says, it cuts to the Capital Navigation subspace relay on Coruscant. Rose winces from the sparks as she rewires the hyperdrive on the Capital, fingertips bleeding. She looks up, a feeling. She hears Luke. It penetrates us. Interior Millennium Falcon night. Poe flies through a barrage of laser fire. Luke says it binds the galaxy together. He feels the connection from across the galaxy. Poe says, Rey. The Temple Mount night. Rey into the rain. Poe gathers her strength. Finn. Exterior Coruscant. Imperial Boulevard sunset. Finn is crouched low behind cover. Lasers flying overhead. Luke, we are bound. We are one. Bound by the Force. Finn feels the connection, a surge of hope. Finn says, fight, Rey, fight. Exterior Temple Mount night. Rey hears him. He's there with her. They all are. Finn, his voiceover, a distant echo. Fight. The Temple of Mortis. Luke gives his former student a faint smile. Luke says, and we will not be broken. Exterior Temple Mount night. With all of her strength, the last Jedi rises. She unwraps a strip of cloth from the bandage on her head, and she uses it to blindfold her eyes. Interior Temple of Mortis night. Luke vanishes. Behind him, Rey stands tall in the arched doorway, blind, bruised, determined. Rey says, our masters were wrong. I will not deny my anger, and I will not reject my love. Her fallen lightsaber flies into her hands. Rey, I am the darkness. I am the light. Kylo says, you are nothing. You are no one. Now, this is something, the next line, Poe, at the beginning of the movie, when Rey is explaining to Poe that she has no family, that she really is no one, it's Poe who says to her, well, no one is no one. People are someone. So Kylo says, you are nothing. You are no one. She ignites the blades and they crackle. Rey says, no one. is no one. Kylo charges, their blades meet and sizzle. Rey fights him blindfolded, guided by the Force. We cut to the Eclipse. See, Tallulah's excited. We cut to the Eclipse Star Destroyer. The burning Resistance cruisers plummet to landfall. Leia watches the fiery carnage out of her observation window. The battle is over. Connix, more ships are arriving from the Outer Rim, General. Leia, prepare to retreat. These aren't first-order ships. Leia looks out at the starfield ahead, off her surprise. 1,000 ships appear from hyperspace. A massive fleet of smugglers and thieves flying tricked-out, junkyard-bound personal cruisers. The pirates Han Solo spent half his life running from, and in the lead is Lando's personal starship, the Lady Luck. Lando Calrissian at the helm of the controls. Lando, I thought you could use a few scoundrels. Nine Island, an aging alien in a vintage bomber jacket, shakes his head in the co-pilot's chair, and he says, I'm too old for this shit in an alien language. Lando's ragtag fleet attacks. So again, it's not everybody. Lando, earlier on the script, Leia goes to see Lando, and they get
the smugglers.
The smugglers. It's the smugglers, and it's all the brigands.
So
there's an earlier scene when they first light up. I forgot to say this. They first light up the beacons when they call for help.
Yeah.
And it cuts to a scene with Bosk, the bounty hunter Bosk, and he's sitting in he's living in the lap of luxury, and he's hanging out. And then when he sees this beacon light up, he's like, "Oh, maybe I should get involved." So
it's like the ham radio of the like they can't trace that anymore.
And that's what they should have done with Lando, is had him come in with the Smugglers Alliance, because that was his profile, in the beginning, is that he was a smuggler as well, and keeping true to his nature.
Yeah.
So let me read this last bit to you, and I'll stop reading. Interior, Temple of Mortis, night. Kylo counters Rey's every move. They're evenly matched, two sides of a coin, flame and shadow, fighting to the death. A vicious swing, and Kylo's lightsaber shatters at the hilt, destroyed along with several fingers on his left hand cut across the palm. He looks at it with disbelief, stumbles back toward the empty well of Mortis, and falls to one knee. Rey stands over him, anger flowing. She separates her dual lightsaber, holds one blade pointed to Kylo's chest. Kylo is stunned by the powerful being before him. She's almost glowing. Unfathomable living force within. Kylo clenches his teeth, eyes furious, a rage like we haven't seen since Anakin. He reaches out the open palm of his good hand and extracts the living force from Rey as Tor Valum taught him. She rises, energy flowing from her body into Kylo's hand as the life drains from her. She pulls her blindfold off and screams to the sky. Kylo stands tall, energized. His face has returned to normal, healed. He pulls the iron plates off of his skin. They fall away, healthy flesh underneath. He looks beyond Rey to the empty well of Mortis. Kylo, they were wrong, all of them. The power of this place can't be taken. Rey says, Ben. Kylo says, but it's nothing compared to you. Kylo takes more from her. Rey is almost gone, drained of life. She summons all her strength and reaches out. With the last of herself, she offers him her hand. Rey, Ben, please. Cut to Eclipse Destroyer Bridge space. Leia feels the disturbance, and it pains her. Into the vastness of space, she says her son's name. Ben. Interior, Temple of Mortis, night. Then Kylo hears his mother's voice, carried by the Force. Leia, Ben. He stops, hearing Leia, feeling her close. Leia says, come back, come home. Something happens to Kylo when he hears his mother's voice. And then we cut to the Star Destroyer again. Leia speaks to her son through the Force. Leia says, help us. Temple of Mortis, night. Kylo feels the very thing that destroyed Anakin, but doesn't make him feel weak. He looks at Rey's outstretched hand and takes it. The living force flows back into her. Both light and dark swirl within Rey as Kylo is reduced to an empty shell, a man without power, a frightened boy. Kylo and Rey collapse into one another, each propping the other up on their knees. Rey is close to him now, their foreheads touching. He is weakened and spent. In the last moments of his life, Kylo says, Solana. Rey is stunned. It is her name. distant like a memory. What? Kylo, your name with his last breath is Rey Solana. Those words are Ben Solo's last. Rey watches the light dim in his eyes, but it is the light and not the darkness. Rey says goodbye, Ben. With a look that could be perceived as love, Ben Solo dies. Rey releases her hold, collapses, barely alive herself. They have fought to the death. So,
holy crap.
Well, we got, please don't stop reading from the script. I must say.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
That's amazing.
Drew
the
Scola
differences.
did $10 said, Robert, good to see and hear you, and I'm glad to see you've come to the dark side.
Well, I wouldn't say, look, what I find, as I said, what I find interesting is there's so many scripts that don't get made in Hollywood. That what I'm curious about this particular script is this script is so interesting, and I thought it was really, really a great script, and I wonder why the decision was made not to go with this, because it really harks back to all the things we know about Star Wars. What Yoda says, it surrounds us, it binds us, and it's all about the flesh, and it's all about not the flesh and not this crude material. And there's so many callbacks to all of Star Wars lore. I'm like, I don't know why. I don't know why that is. And the whole idea that you take it back to Coruscant, and instead of having the people's uprising, and you see that the all of that plays into it, and then the smugglers redeeming themselves, and when they send out this beacon, it is like Gondor, and the people, it really worked really, really well. I mean, I thought it was really interesting.
I love that, especially the balcony of Coruscant, where we had so much in the sequels, where we saw a lot of Anakin's life changing on those balcony scenes with Padme, and to see him, Kylo, taking the Vader helmet and throwing it over that as he basically denounces Vader for his weaknesses, and basically shedding himself of those weaknesses in essence is what he was doing. I thought the symbolism was perfect having it there. I love that. So nice.
And to top that off, he says your weakness was love. However, when you watch is it Attack of the Clones, Anakin tells Padme, Jedi are allowed to love. It's basically the attachment that got him. Right. That's how I see that. So it's attachment, not love.
Now this is the one homage. So we after that thing about Rey and Kylo, we go back to the Battle of Coruscant, and then we come back to the Temple of Mortis. It's night. Rey lies flat on the stone. Silence. Light fills the space around her, particles of energy floating up. She rises with them. The light engulfs the frame until we reach a place beyond what we know. This is the astral plane. Glimmers of energy flicker like fireflies in the darkness. Rey opens her eyes again, clear, unburdened. 3 of the distant glimmers grow larger than the others. She moves toward them. Yoda, Luke Skywalker, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Rey says, "Is this death?" Obi-Wan, "In this place, there is no such thing as death." Rey, who'd been blinded earlier, says, "I can see." Obi-Wan says, "Your true self is free of suffering and free of pain." Yoda says, "Taught us much you have." Rey, "I've taught you?" Succeeded where we have failed. Narrow was our point of view. Luke, you chose to embrace the dark side and the light, to find balance within. Yoda, coexist they must, as such feelings do in all of us. Rey, but if I'm here with you, a choice you must make, to return or to remain. Luke, here there is serenity, knowledge, peace, those lost but not forgotten. She looks beyond them at the shimmering flecks of energy. And there, Rey says, and there, Obi-Wan says, there you will face a galaxy in turmoil, pain, suffering, the loss of those you love. Yoda, but living you will be. Love you shall. We hold on Rey's face as she considers the life she's yet to live and makes her decision. Rey, thank you. The spirits fade into the cosmic force. As the light overwhelms us, Obi-Wan Kenobi's voice echoes. You are a Jedi, Rey Solana. but you will not be the last.
I think this is better than what we got. Definitely better than what we got. And certainly seeing Rey suffer, seeing Rey go through hardship and trial is something that we've needed, sorely, sorely needed. And in that moment where she's broken and she's climbing up the steps, I felt something for her. I felt something for her. But I also can't ignore that there are parts of this that still feel kind of hollow, because, and that's not this screenplay's fault. It's
Right, sure.
for it. It's because of what's come before it, right? Because they decided to make Rey an insufferable Mary Sue. They're the ones who decided to make her completely and utterly intolerable in her powers and abilities. They're the ones that decided to pit her against Kylo Ren over and over and over again and always have her come out on top. Yeah. They're the ones that decided to do that. And so that's not something that I think that this screenplay
became way predictable. And that was the trouble. It was predictable. And then the final trailer coming out for the Rise of Skywalker, where you see, Kylo coming out in the rain, drenched again, and he's the arch nemesis again. It's like, been there, done that. How many times now? It didn't leave much to intrigue, even with the whole Palpatine thing. It just didn't. And I would have loved to see Franken Kylo. I would have loved that.
Yeah.
I still think it would have been better, but I don't think it would have been a masterpiece. But I think it would have been very difficult to be worse than The Rise of Skywalker. And I do think, look, that was something that I was so excited about when it came to The Last Jedi. When they were talking about the Jedi have to end, right? Oh my God, I got incredibly excited. The Ashla and the Bogan, they're going to do the Gray Jedi. They're going to meet somewhere in the middle. What I felt like was an incredibly interesting path for them to pursue. Certainly something that would have been entertaining and engaging for an audience that wanted to dive down that path of somewhere in the middle, because there's no question that the Jedi failed. The Jedi failed, right? That's the whole reason that Palpatine was able to come to power. That's the whole reason that Anakin Skywalker turned to the dark side, because they failed him, right?
Yeah.
And so I can appreciate that this movie doesn't undo Anakin's sacrifice and his
yes. It doesn't diminish the ones we loved that came before it. That's what I feel like. The Force healing really did a number for me. I feel like it essentially retconned a lot of the originals. A lot of people who watched this new trilogy first, and then maybe they're younger and they weren't as familiar with the originals. They're going to watch the originals later in life, perhaps if they're so lucky, and they're going to be like, well, why didn't Anakin just force heal Padme or force heal Shmi? Or why? It diminishes their character so much with that. That one little thing they're just going to toss in just to make her, better, I guess, in some respect. But it didn't have to be that way. There's ways you can make a character better without diminishing the ones before it, I feel like. And it just left a really sour taste for me. This is night and day difference better just for that one reason alone for me. Yeah. I love
and I'm going to go back to Leia. And I did take notes when I watched your live stream here. And there's a part in here where Leia says to Rey, this is interesting. You are not like my father, my brother. You're new. Whatever happens, Rey, the Force choose you. So does that take away Anakin's arc? Because she's
real quick, just before we get into that, Alora, I'm so sorry to interrupt. We do have a super chat here for $1.99. Okay. Rude artist that says, Rey, I am lightning, the rain transform. Well, Rey was a Mary Sue all from get-go. I don't know that there's anything this film could have done to fix that, but I certainly think it does go a long way to show her suffering. Like, do I want to see her as a Mary Sue? Do I want to see her all glowing and floating? I cringed. I'm not gonna lie. I'm so sorry, Robert. I cringed when you tell me that she's glowing and floating in the air and she's full of the Force and she's all the Jedi. It felt like a harken back to, okay, so this is where they took that from. They stripped this out of this, and while it's worse in The Rise of Skywalker, it's still her sitting there floating like freaking Super Saiyan out of Dragon Ball Z or some shit. And
well, she's not not floating in the air. I mean, when she goes and she's basically, you mean when she's fighting Kylo, or when she's having her near death?
When he's pulling all of the life force out of her.
I should explain that when he's training, what he is taught to do is how he can drain the life force. He's doing it on animals at first. Like, he's literally killing animals, and he's able to take the living force from creatures. and it's
like Darth Nihilus.
Yeah, like yes, and it's horrifying. It's a horrifying thing. So when they meet up and he starts taking her living force, it's more like something out of the movie Life Force when he's literally draining it, and it's pretty terrifying. And when they start going back and forth, it works within the context of where they are, and because I didn't. There's no setup. I didn't give you the setup, but it's pretty horrific and scary more than anything else. But I know what you mean. But it's still, I like what went on in this script because it felt like it was really thought through, and everybody has arcs, and the whole idea of what is a rebellion, and who are they fighting, and what are they fighting for, and we really got to see all of that, and I really thought that it all meant something. You really feel everything.
And that's important because you don't have these people, characters maybe dying and coming right back, maybe death, maybe not, maybe that there was no there wasn't enough time to even process a maybe death.
Right.
It was like, okay, no, not dead. I like having the stakes visualized for us in a way that is understandable throughout the movie. It doesn't just, forget about them, with certain decisions they make with, characters down the line.
I do love that representation of the actual rebellion. What is a rebellion? It's an uprising of people against a tyrannical power, right? And so you do have to have some, what would that be embodied by? Well, it would be embodied by the downtrodden on a place such as Coruscant. A Coruscant that we know, Coruscant that we're familiar with, and we can understand. We've seen the underbelly of Coruscant.
Right.
So we're familiar with that, and it would absolutely hit home and ring true with a lot of people to see that uprising from a place that's both familiar but led by these new characters. And you give Finn something legitimate to do. You give him something that has a real impact. He's not running around on space horses on some bizarre planet that has a casino. Why the fuck are we here, people? Like you have him doing something that makes sense and has weight, and it fits into the overall arching story that you're telling here. And so I would say that this is certainly by far a way better movie than what we got. Of course, we'll never know exactly what it looked like. But as far as the story itself, there are some cringe moments. There's some moments where I went,
But it's like what you said.
Go ahead.
Well, the characters, what I really liked is the opening 15 pages when they're in the middle of a mission. That Rose and Finn work really well together. You can tell they've obviously been working together since what happened at the end of Last Jedi, and they're like a crack team now where they're really like operatives together, and that continues on when they're given the mission to go turn on this Jedi, this ancient technology. It's once again it's Rose and Finn and R2 and 3PO, and the four of them make a really cool team, and the way they work together, and they're shown as being very, very capable, and then they end up leading the ground forces and the uprising, and it gives them so much more to do, and you really like their dynamic and everything that's going on, and everybody seems sort of connected, and I thought it really worked for me. And then something that I didn't get into at the end of the script, the First Order capital is actually a ship. And it when they're losing, the tide of the battle is turning, the First Order ship is taking off, and it's leaving, and you think they're going to escape. And when Rose escaped their clutches, she intentionally reprogrammed their hyperdrive navigation system. And so in this thing, the final part of the battle is it ends up going to hyperspace, and it smashes. The end of the First Order is their Capitol building, which is really also a starship, smashes into a planet, destroying them all. And it's just a great moment, because again, you weren't expecting it, and it was a result of them working together. And also, there are a lot of former stormtroopers. We saw a little bit of that in Rise of Skywalker, but these former stormtroopers have been underground in Coruscant organizing. And they were already there, and Finn finds them, and they team up, and there's all of these ideas that we saw snippets of in The Rise of Skywalker, but they're far more developed in this script.
Didn't you mention that he actually remembers them from when he was young, that he'd grown up with them in a sort of way? And so, look, that installs some great. It's a roundabout way of putting some history here, right? Like it makes sense that these people would want to try to engage with one another and begin something together, because Finn feels a measure of compassion. He broke loose, he got free, and these are the people who were able to do the same here. And so you kind of have an opportunity to sort of build on what it was that you started and you put in place in The Force Awakens, which was poor Finn. Like I'll echo Anna's sentiment in the chat. Absolutely, poor Finn. Was so disrespected and so mistreated throughout the course of these films. He had an opportunity to have a real arc, something that was substantial, that hit home with you.
He was poised better than the rest of them for something amazing. I felt his backstory was so unique, original for comparison, and it's a shame that wasn't carried on in strength throughout, because it could have.
As a Force user, it's like there were so many different ways they could take him, because he was so prepped and primed for great development.
I know, I agree. And I think one of the things that this script did the best was really give all the characters something to do and give them all real legitimate interplay that was all about character building. And it really felt more so, and I'm not saying this script was the end all be all, like you have pointed out. It's not necessarily perfect, but remember, a script is a great blueprint for a film. It would have been amazing to see where all of this went.
What they do with it.
And I think it was definitely it concentrated more. All of it came out of the characters, as opposed to deciding, let's have these great visuals and work the character stuff around the visuals. This story was all about characters and the interplay between them, and all of the other action sort of, while it was very well conceived, it all came out of the character interaction, which I thought was great.
Well, and don't you remember in Return of the Jedi, where we had our characters, they were split up, they were doing different things, right? You've got Han and you've got Luke and Leia and Han all starting down on the moon of Endor, and then Luke has to go up to the Death Star, and he's got to deal with Vader, and then you've got Lando flying around with.
They did it in the sequels too, with the Gungan army, and with the
everyone is doing something here that is proactive, that is contributing to the overarching story, that you have a goal to accomplish. And yes, you can take down the Emperor, but there are still all these forces. You still have a Death Star in place, guys. You gotta handle this business from all of the different angles. And so everyone is doing something important and impactful to the story. And that is certainly something that I see here within this screenplay, is that you've got different people all working together to corroborate an effort towards one goal, but different people moving pieces, but it's like a clock, and it works well. And I think it was written well. And again, with the visuals, if you write a good enough story, the visuals are in place, right? You make something spectacular out of the visuals that come from the story that you wrote. They lend themselves to one another, and you don't write your characters around a visual. I don't want epilepsy. I don't want to die in a theater, guys. That's all.
Yeah. Now, how many of you guys think that this would have been a great opening to the sequel? Because we have the Battle of Coruscant. We have them trying to take Coruscant away back for the New Republic.
Oh, wow. For an opening.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I think you need more. I mean, obviously you've got Rey, who's not established at that point, and so but then again, I'd rather
not very established though at that point.
I'd rather not have an established Rey. I'd like to start back at ground zero with Rey and not deal with this Mary Sue, who I just don't care about. Right?
Or at least the Coruscant battle to take it back, but then let's develop the characters from there, so that we have some understanding that the New Republic is fighting back for their the capital of the galaxy, basically with Coruscant.
I agree to an extent, but I love the finality of ending it somewhere that was sort of where so much began with the political turmoil. Yeah. I feel like having it there symbolically, again, I'm a big symbolism person. Symbolically, it just made sense to me to end there. So again, I like that for another reason. I just thought that was pretty cool. And I love that, again, like it was underneath the in the Jedi Temple, underneath Coruscant, where they found that ability to communicate and get help. Yeah. I thought that was because that was the center of so much there. So it just made it made more sense. Which is
kind of rounded it off.
Skywalker.
Yeah. it kind of rounded it off. And the reason why I state that is because, like I said, I'm going to refer back to the X-Wing series in the novels, the legends, is that they are taking back Coruscant from the Empire. And so that's why I asked that question, because if you're aware of those novels and stuff, when you see them trying to take off within their Star Destroyer and Rose hacks them to where they don't get the coordinates in right, we also see that similarly with Isard trying to leave with the Star Destroyer as well. So that's why I asked those questions, just to get the wheels turning, because I mean, yeah, these are all what ifs, but just we're talking about what ifs, and it's very exciting to see something develop that could have been.
Yeah, I mean, I feel what's really interesting. I've been thinking about this a lot since I may or may not have read this script. My two favorite franchises, as far as these things go, and the things that I've literally grown up with, both Star Trek and Star Wars. I don't understand now that the control of these franchises is really. It's overseen by corporations as opposed to Star Wars, which was George Lucas's conception. You can never, a corporation, the interests of a corporation are never, they work diametrically opposed to telling a great story, because a great story has to be about, first and foremost, about its characters and how the characters move through the narrative. And a corporation doesn't necessarily want that. A corporation wants a story and characters to appeal to the largest amount of people so they can make the most amount of money, which means inherently they can never really be true to a narrative. They have to change the narrative to suit their own needs. And you can never tell a great story if that's the case, because then the story itself is you're never true to that story. You're only true to the idea of, we have to sell this to the widest, the lowest common denominator to make it acceptable to the widest number of people. And like I was saying on my stream today, it was like there were no Star Wars fans when Star Wars was released in 1977. They became Star Wars fans when the story spoke to them. And over the decades, we're now into it. We've had more than 43 years now that Star Wars has been around. It's been inspiring new generations of people, young and old, and people still gravitate to Star Wars. And the reasons we should be asking, well, why? And how is it that we can retain the core values of what made Star Wars appealing in the first place? And by trying to appeal to rather than go back to the core values of the story and the characters, you can't just make everybody love it. What you have to do is be true to Star Wars, and people will love it because it's true to the core concepts. And that's not what a corporation can do.
Right. It gets muddled down through there's like so many people involved that it muddies down the creative process. It feels like so much, because something has to be put in, or something has to be taken out, or something has to be put in, or something has to be taken out. And unfortunately, those little bits are oftentimes the little nuggets that make something feel original to the soul of what was for us.
Yeah,
and it's sad.
Here, we do want to continue that conversation, Candace, but we've got
sorry.
people watching. Guys, do me a favor, make sure you hit that like button. We've also got some super chats that we need to get to. Tom, do you have those on hand? Are you able to read those off for us? I do not have them on hand over here.
Hey, listen, I have to actually bug out, unfortunately.
Oh,
well, it's a pleasure meeting you.
Well, it's great to meet you, all of you, if only over the internet. But I have pressing duties.
We're just pressing duties. It was absolutely amazing to be able to sit here with you. And this
Thank
was
you for coming in.
This was fun. Thank you. I had no idea. I feel like this was what a great internet party you're throwing here. And
you're welcome back anytime, Robert.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
Meet Anna, that Star Wars girl, real quick though.
Somebody just joined in. That Star. It's funny because I've watched a lot of you on the internet. That Star Wars girl. Hello. It's nice to meet you.
Hello.
How are you?
Nice to meet you. I'm dying of the plague. How are you?
Don't die of the plague.
Yes.
That would be bad. Well, feel better. And it was great to meet you, if only briefly. But thank you all for having me and letting me crash your feminine. What is it? Toxic femininity.
Toxic femininity. Yes.
Man, what a great party this is. Well, have a good night.
Monday. Thanks so much, Robert.
Thanks
Bye,
for having
Robert.
me. Bye,
Robert.
Oh, Anna. Oh, Anna.
Oh, Anna.
No. All right, well, real quick, let me go ahead and get to this super chat before we introduce Anna and get back into the discussion. So, Dick's Picks for $5 said, I simply cannot believe they went from that to this. I wonder if JJ was more concerned with getting back at Ryan than making a Star Wars movie. And I think that that's a great point. One of the reasons why this is so incohesive and one of the reasons why people have such an issue with The Rise of Skywalker, why it has done so poorly in comparison to the other Star Wars films at the box office, why it's rated the worst of all of the Star Wars films is because it's so incohesive. Why you chose what we got over this will baffle me till the end.
I hope we still have an opportunity because Robert came in before we got to really lay out a lot of the nuts and bolts of this script or this screenplay. I hope we have time to kind of cover, some of the parts that we, kind of liked earlier on before we.
As long as everybody can stick around, yes, that's fine.
Yeah, just until we can't anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Real quick, we got a $5 super chat from Jinro Genesis. It says, Kylo had a lot of potential, but it was ruined in the first movie. Also, I did care about Rey in The Force Awakens, but The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker ruined any possibility of caring. So I think a lot of people might have been willing to try to forgive. I think many people wanted to maybe not forgive The Rise of Skywalker, but maybe look past. Or not The Rise of Skywalker, but The Last Jedi. I think a lot of people would have been willing to try to look past The Last Jedi. If you could have given us something to end all of this out that felt sincere, that felt real, that certainly didn't undermine what's come before it. And what we got was like just this absolute Frankenstein monster of a film that gave neither one of the sequels to the previous movie in this trilogy has cared a rip for the movie that came before it, let alone the series that came before it, the saga that came before it. None of these movies have been in any way, shape, or form cohesive or concerned with the story the previous movie was trying to tell. This screenplay does look at least as though it didn't completely usurp everything that came before it, and that I think is certainly something here. So Matt G for $2 says, yes, Anna on Toxic Femininity. Oh, she's not feeling well, guys. Anna, guys, thank you so much for joining us, Anna.
Oh, honey. It's Anna plus tonight.
Yeah.
Anna plus the plague.
Are you feeling up to having a conversation at all?
I can try, but I've been in bed all day dying of this. It's been a pain in the butt. It's like one of those things where my whole body just hurts.
No.
And like I just can't breathe.
It's the malaise. General malaise.
It's okay to go back to bed.
Yeah, we are not slave drivers here. This is not old school Kashyyyk. Like, you can head out whenever you need to, girl.
For the record, I did tell her all the same things you guys are saying right now.
Yeah, get yourself fabulous self back to bed, rest up so that you can come back stronger than ever, darling.
Yes, absolutely. We
would definitely love to have you back on the show.
Really, in the words of Boba Fett, you're no good to me dead.
Yes.
We can make a big deal, and next week would be Anna. You could be here the whole show, and hopefully you feel better. Because we'd hate for you to die because it's my fault.
Poor Tom. We are glad you popped through, Anna.
Yes, thank you for coming in, darling. All right. So
those were some fun guests, you guys. What do you think, chat? I mean,
I feel so bad for Anna. Oh my God.
I know.
Got a little
Matt
bit.
Matt G sent us another $2, said yes, and then yes, that's enough after that. So hopefully she'll be back next week, and then we can get her where she's healthy.
Yeah,
poor girl.
One of these.
Honestly, this is funny because this is probably one of the things we've been talking about. If this other stuff hadn't dropped.
Toxic Femininity, a box of Quinn Paltrow candles. Does somebody want to enlighten me?
So she has candles in the scent of her vag.
Yeah, she's yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Special. We call that special.
We call that special. Special.
Special.
Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special. Special.
I call that.
She had herself like secretions taken and made a
Okay,
candle.
I'm good.
Very much.
Nope.
That's pretty legit toxic. I'd
Yeah,
say.
that is very
That's like the literal form of toxic. Nope, we're theoretically toxic. Gwyneth Paltrow's literally toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
but that's like 3 steps beyond bathwater, y'all.
That's a whole lot of no. Corey
Yeah,
B says it's $4.99. Thanks to all 4 of you for your channels, collaborations, Disney's failed trifecta, and SWINO, Star Wars in name only. Yep.
Yeah.
Solo lost money, hashtag.
Hashtag solo love.
But we're not over yet, so don't be heading out, folks. It seems like a few people are thinking the show's
Yeah, I think
over.
we're gonna go through.
We're not over.
Yeah.
No. We've got plenty more to discuss here, and we have an entire outline. Well, obviously not an entire outline. None of us can break this down for you like Robert Meyer could have, like Robert Meyer Burnett could have. But we're certainly going to do our best here. We paid some pretty good attention earlier to the bomb dropping.
We got all of it written down pretty much. So we're going to cover all the stuff that you've met. If you haven't seen his video yet, we will have everything here. So just stick around. We've got it all.
Yeah.
So as we understand it, Rey is no longer the Mary Sue that she's been hyped up to be. As she goes throughout the course of this film, she's incredibly scared and she feels as though she is not sure she can contribute what it is that everybody seems to think that she's going to be able to contribute to this story. She keeps questioning things. Can I do this? I don't know what I'm doing. She's talking to Force Ghost Luke, who is mentoring her much in the same way that Obi-Wan Kenobi mentored him, only though Force Ghost Luke is mentoring both Rey and Kylo Ren. He's trying to bring Ben back to the light. And so that was something that I felt was interesting to see happen throughout the course of this, is that you've got old man Luke, but he's not Jake Skywalker anymore. He's legitimately Luke Skywalker. He's trying to mentor. He's taking his place in this story, and he is there, and he is present, and he has a hand involved in the shaping of these two people and where it is that they head forward with their destinies. And so I thought that was really good. So obviously we did discuss the movie opening and how they're out there on Kawat's shipyards with the destroyers. They steal a destroyer, guys.
Yes, they do. Cleverly steal a destroyer. And so my question on that is like, I would love to see that, because I'm very curious, because in the lore you need like at least 1,000 people minimum to do something like that. So to do something as productive, to steal the Star Destroyer from Kawat shipyards, which is part of Disney canon now and a part of Legends, a little bit difference in on how they play that scenario out for Kawats. But it's very interesting how it's just Rey and Poe that still, and then it goes into the relationship, basically where she tries to force or mind wipe him, or whatever you want to call it, mind trick him and stuff. So that's very interesting to see this development and see what they would have done. And we have all these what ifs.
Well, I do think that's probably a flub up, though. There's no way that they're, because if you need, I think that the number was like around 700 or something.
Well, they did say that there was still a crew present on the ship when they stole it, and that they used that there was a joke about Jedi wiping the crew, and they were basically helping her at that point. It was like a comedic undertone that was mentioned in his stream as well later on. So they did talk about that, and there was a guy that assisted them in taking it as well, who got the lightsaber guillotine from Hux. So, there was a few things. I mean, logistically, you're making a movie. It's a lot harder than being able to read the book. The books can go into far more detail with lore than a movie can. Yeah. And so there's only so much they can do. I think by even admitting that there was a crew already on the ship, I think that's at least a step in the right direction of saying that it at least had to have somebody else there than the four of them. So
like
that's a good point.
All over the place with Palpatine. And
right. Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh God. Yeah.
So they steal this essentially it's a dreadnought is what they take, and they go off. And there's this one more, and this was a little cringe for me. I'm not gonna lie, this was a little cringe for me. Where Poe says something to the effect of, let's blow this, where is it? I've got it here somewhere. Let's blow this thing and go home, right? So look, that depending on how it's executed can be one of two things. It can either be incredibly fantastic fan service that everybody goes, yeah, from when there's, or it can be cringe beyond belief where you sit there and go, the is this right here? What am I watching? So that could be executed one of two ways. I'd have to see it, and I'd have to know for a fact how it was on screen before I could say either way. But I think that could go either way. So for those of you who are in the chat are going, oh, that's cringe. You may be right. And for those of you in the chat are going, yeah, fan service. You may be right. We'll never know because this never made it to the screen because Lucasfilm is crazy. They're freaking crazy. They're crazy. So, so they move on forward, and I'm going to try to break this down as concise as possible. Rey decides to take the lightsaber. Remember the lightsaber that got smashed or not?
Yes.
Ripped in half by force pulling? Yes.
They force pulled it apart. And so Rey has the remnants of a lightsaber, and she also has a staff. So she does what any person who has any level of ingenuity would do. And she
Junk collector.
Together, right? Junk
collector. I mean, it makes total sense. The hell? Why not?
Yeah.
Well, we all thought, remember this room was, oh, she's gonna make a staff saber out of the pieces. We all thought that was something that might go down. It would have made sense. It would have worked. She would have staff, and it would have made sense to what little bit of a character you have set up for us prior to this, right? So I thought that was incredibly cool. I would have liked to have seen it done in yellow, but I would have accepted blue. Blue would have been fine, right? So
still didn't take the Skywalker name, so sure, go.
Well, and then you do something that J.J. Abrams failed to do. You give some measure of weight to the Last Jedi. Could that be done? Well, it seems like it was done here. There are ramifications, long-term ramifications that have an impact that reaches further than just the end of your movie, right? And so when you go into this next movie, you have a lightsaber that's broken and a person who has to take it and put back together.
Continuity matters.
Yeah. Go figure. That was something I thought was fantastic about this. And I'll probably make an entire video on the lightsaber myself.
I hope you do. Yeah. I want to see that.
Yeah, so she's becoming a knight as like you said, continuity, because Jedis, they're part of their arc is creating their own lightsaber. Yeah, it's out of the Skywalker saber, which when I went into Disney's store, it's now coined Rey's lightsaber, which I kind of cringe when I see it. When it's the Anakin's lightsaber, yes.
But couldn't you have accepted that so much better if it had been turned into...
she was dressed as a Tusken Raider when she revealed the saber staff too, which is kind of cool because that kind of, you can disguise that, I think, with the Tusken Raider styling. They have the staffs just like that. So kudos again. There's little nuggets here that are. I'm not saying this is a great, perfect screenplay. I'm saying there's enough here that would have made me happier.
It would have been
than what I saw on The Rise of Skywalker. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
God. Yes.
And I do agree with Robert's assessment of this, that it feels like Return of the Jedi with a lot of the bullshit cut out. So I tend to agree with what I've seen of this so far. It does feel that way. But we discussed this a bit earlier, so I'll kind of skate over this a little bit. But Finn meets up with the stormtroopers, who he knew when he was training as a young kid, and they're very uncomfortable. So he gets with these guys, and they corroborate an uprising against Coruscant, the insane leadership that's going down. So Kylo Ren comes back. So he's left Mustafar. He's taken the Vader's helmet, and he understands. He speaks to Vader's helmet, and he says, "I understand your weakness now and your pain. You allowed love to cloud your judgment." And he takes Vader's helmet and he throws it over the edge, and it lands down on the ground and shatters into a million different pieces. So you had to do something with that. You had to eventually come back to the fact that Kylo Ren's been talking to this helmet. He's been engaging with it, right? This has been almost like cultish behavior. And so you have to do something. You have to address it and explain how it is that we move forward from here. How do you have a scary Kylo Ren? How do you have an intimidating villain in Kylo Ren? Well, you have to unshackle him from Vader, and you have to give us a reason why he's unshackled from Vader. Well, if he sees him as weak now and throws it over the edge, sure, okay, and then you can have the symbolic shattering of it going into pieces everywhere.
Yeah,
see how that would work.
And then they do go further later on in the script when we talk about it. The next step of his transformation, well thought out. I love it. He shed his past, he gets his, he was destined for that future, I guess, because it was like he didn't really have a choice. It just came at him. when we talk about that a little bit later. I just thought it was kind of interesting.
And this
Like
was beautifully done because in The Rise of Skywalker, we get him being manipulated, which means he's weak because mind tricks are for weak people, right? So he's being manipulated by Palpatine with all these voices of Vader, his grandfather, of Snoke, and of himself and stuff. And we get here in the script that it's all within his head, but it's his own mind, his own scenario, his own dark side that's playing the scenario, and that he's developing into that dark side bad character.
And we all know what it means to be stuck in your own head, right? And certainly that was something that happened to Anakin. Anakin was being misled by Palpatine, but he was also stuck in his own head, and he's scared to death of the visions and the nightmares that he was having about everything, right? And so I think that's an important commentary to make, that yes, Kylo Ren is stuck in his own head, and he's having issues here. And so how does he grow and come past, or at least evolve and come past that and become a villain worth being terrified of? Well, first you have to have him shed Vader, and you have to have him move forward into being his own character, which is not something I think that he's ever really had up until this point. He's never had a character. He's just been a flip-flopper. He's just a pancake in a pan, and he's not even particularly tasty. So it's just one of it's true. It's just one of the pancakes you have with him. Kylo Ren's a pancake, a bland piece of bread. So
I'll take some butter with that and make it interesting.
So then we move on to this. So Rey is apparently, before she heads off, she's having a lot of doubts. And this was something that I really felt like they should have fleshed out with her. Of course, Rey is having doubts. She has no clue who the frack she is, right? You had the makings of a juicy character here, of a character that had an identity crisis, who didn't know who she was or where she belonged in this entire story. You had the groundwork here laid out, but you never showed her struggle. You never showed her her internal issues with what it is that she's dealing with here. You never showed that to us. So to put that on screen and to convey that she's a human, right? She's a person. Remember, person, and my name is Anakin, right? Like you have to convey that to us. She's scared. She's lost. She feels confused and alone and not sure what to believe or where her place is in everything. And you could run with it. Look, I'm not. The idea that they gave us in The Last Jedi, that Rey could be a nobody, is not a bad idea. It really isn't a bad idea, because there have been plenty of Jedi all across the history of Star Wars who were nobody and still played significant roles and did a lot to shape the galaxy around them, right? One of those being Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi's nobody. He's only somebody now. That's the only reason Obi-Wan Kenobi is anybody now. But he was nobody when all this started. He was just in the place at the time where the things went down, and so he did what he had to do. There's no reason why you couldn't run with that with Rey, but you have to make her relatable. And that was something that they did in this script. They made her scared. They made her terrified that she's not adequate to meet what it is that people expect of her. She's the last Jedi. Look, as much as I don't like that, as much as I would have liked to have seen Luke bring a Jedi Academy to fruition and do what it was that I felt like Luke was always capable of doing, and I don't like that was undermined. It's where we sit now. This is what we have to work with. Damn it, do something with it.
Exactly.
So here we are. For the love of Bob, give this woman an arc. And so here we sit. And they certainly did something with that, I think, in this particular screenplay. So we got a $5 super chat from The Dawn of Van Life. KK seemed set on reducing Luke and making Leia godlike, which was a disservice to both characters in the execution of the sequel trilogy. Agreed. But that's not what this screenplay did. And it's probably one of the reasons why KK didn't approve it, is because it's prominent.
It wasn't female enough.
Oh, yeah. Hashtag the force is female.
Me too.
Hashtag me too. Force is female. So we got a $2 super chat from Dr. Jaggis. Dr. Jaggis says, "Who wants an overpriced?" I can't finish that.
I will. Put it back on. I got it. Give it to me, Tom. Let's go. Who wants an overpriced tuna scented candle? For $2. TC the Mandalorian. Oh, they get better, Mary. There's some other ones you might want to. TC the Mandalorian for £2. They got scratch and sift samplers at my store. Oh, did
No.
Did you try it out, Mandalorian?
Inquiring minds need to know.
Yes.
You want to take care of that one? Mary, you got it.
We got a Jesus God, scratch and sift tuna. God.
There's another one coming up. Just wait. Mm-hmm.
Matthew Sturgis for $24.99. Thank you so much for the super chat. And thank you so much for all of you who are supporting this channel. We appreciate the shit out of you guys.
Yes.
Says,
Thank you.
annoying to hear how much better the script was. Also very exciting that Anna was on. Too bad the sickness has enveloped her. Definitely have her back on when she's recovered. We are working on that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Matthew. Sometimes life gets in the way, and Anna's a person, and her name is Anakin. Sorry, couldn't help it.
I'll take this one right here since I haven't been able to take any of these super chats.
Oh, yeah, good luck with it.
18 at $2. New candle from Disney, The Taint of Skywalker, $50. If you sniff it, you're gonna die because Skywalkers die using too much of the Force.
Well, that was something that was blatantly not evident in this script. Nobody force kills themselves.
Exactly.
No forced suicides in this particular script. It is.
Sweaty balls. Just think of that SNL. That's good.
No, thank you. I'm good.
Oh hell.
No,
Someone's bound to be selling that somewhere in this world. I bet it.
I don't want to do this anymore.
Okay, so I'm going to bring up one more thing when it comes to the near nether regions. And is it Netherlands or Switzerland or something? There is vagina beer. I'm not shitting you. I am not shitting you.
Why?
I don't know, but that came up when I was looking at the candles. Like,
Yeah, I know. They use the. Okay. Do y'all want to know? Candy's got the breakdown.
No,
okay, tell us, Candy.
Derail.
I can tell you how they do it.
Not doing this. You're not
We'll
doing.
break it down because it's
No, I'm not having it. Not tonight, Candace.
I opened
Yeah.
that can of two.
We'll save it for my channel later, guys. Okay.
Yeah. So, yes, demonetized. All right, so let's go ahead and move to this next page I got here because I got like freaking 7 pages of this shit.
Yeah, I got about 7, 8, so 2. Oh, it's on.
So Kylo Ren goes out to Mustafar and he gets on the planet and he's doing some searching and he's looking around and he finds an old Sith holocron, right? Searches up, digs it up, finds a Sith holocron, and turns out the Sith holocron is from Palpatine to Vader. It's a message that he meant to convey to Vader after right around the time that they're trying to convert Luke, right? So Palpatine expects Luke to be converted, so he's leaving this holocron for Vader to take. He wants him to go to a planet. Where the hell is the planet at? It's on here.
Just real quick, I love that they introduced Palpatine in this way, as a memory in essence, as a hologram, in a cool message that it just expands sort of what we knew about their relationship before, gives us a little DLC content, a little something extra. We get this message from Palps to Vader, and we're getting to witness it as right in front of Kylo. That's so smart. I just I like that.
Look, the Sith are dangerous, right? The Sith are dangerous people to deal with. They're not tuna scented candles, guys. There's something here, okay? So he's messing with this holocron, getting the information. He's supposed to go to this planet because Vader was going to take Luke to this planet in order to have him trained in the dark side. So he's trying to get this holocron figured out, and it shocks the shit out of him, guys. Does like red force lightning, jacks up his face, just basically really messes with Kylo Ren, and he's hurt. He's severely wounded. Leia feels this in the Force. She literally feels it. That's how badly he's wounded. So he pulls himself back together, and he heads on back to Coruscant, where Chancellor Hux is out beheading traitors and acting like a badass.
Yes.
Yep.
What is this?
That's great. That's the front page of this screenplay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So what do you guys think about Palpatine's the one who trained him now? Because the Sith Lord is not Plagueis now. If this would have went through, then Plagueis didn't train him. It was that Tor Valums.
Tor Valum.
Yes.
Valums. There we go.
Yes. So I felt like it's a retcon, obviously.
Yeah.
At this point, there are so many retcons. Fuck, I don't care. There are fewer in this, at least.
Yeah.
So you've got to
Actually, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a retcon. It just means that he may have been the Jedi or the Sith that picked up Sheev's training after he killed Plagueis.
Well, I don't know
Because Valerum is 700 or 7,000 years old.
Vellum.
Yeah,
Vellum.
Vellum. I
Yeah.
love the name.
Vellum.
Sorry, I kept pointing out. I love Vellum's a cool name.
So he could have been around all this time, and he just, hooked up with him after he killed
Still a
Plagueis.
retcon. It didn't exist before. It's written in for the purposes of this.
That doesn't necessarily mean it's a
So
retcon per
it's a
se.
So in this Tor Vallum, again, this title is Duel of the Fates. Okay, so this guy essentially is a 7,000-year-old creature mimicking the similarities between Yoda, doing the Dagobah, training that Luke had. And this is basically the Sith version of that for for Kylo.
Yeah.
So I understand why they did it for that reason. Again, it all hails back to this title. Everything is done with symmetry in some way, and I dig that. I kind of dig that. I like that.
And I'm good with it too. Look, at the end of the day, I don't know that I feel like this is the greatest route to take, but I feel like it's certainly a route to take, and it's certainly not worse than what we got. So I think it's fine. It's fine. And it certainly lends Kylo Ren to being more intimidating. The guy needed training, guys. His training wasn't finished either. Remember, kill her and complete your training. The fuck are you on about right now? We have to get some finished training for Kylo Ren, because as he stands, he's not a threat to Rey. He's not a threat. He's a joke, right? So he goes back to Coruscant, Kylo Ren does, and he touches base with Chancellor Hux, who's being a dickhead and killing people all over the place. He's oppressing Coruscant and, of course, the galaxy at large. And so Kylo Ren comes back and he's like, I don't care. I don't care about all of this mundane ruling the galaxy stuff and your precious little titles. I'm out after power, right? I'm out after real power. The ability to destroy a planet will be nothing in comparison to this. So
Yes.
my face, right? Get my face fixed up, do a little healing, and then head back out on mission is essentially what he does. And he leaves Chancellor Hux to continue being a dickhead, which works out well because, we got a resistance to form here, guys. We got to do something, right? Something needs to happen. So he goes back out. And he goes and finds himself a 7,000-year-old Sith Lord head monster. And it's great. And he apparently trains Kylo Ren. But not only does he train Kylo Ren also has a Force vision, much like the one that we got on Dagobah, where he goes in and he sees Darth Vader. Only
The symmetry again. I love it. Yeah.
only what you take with you. So he goes in, but he has he dukes it out with Vader. And guess what? He loses.
Yes.
And they said it was like an epic battle, like a much more than we would have gotten from the originals. It was very intense and in depth and in detail. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah. Compared to what Luke got when he was facing himself and learning about his lineage. So so a great nod between those two.
So while all of that's going on, you've got Rey training, right? Like not that goddess style training where she's floating there, all Avatar style with
And with who?
And with Luke to boot. She's
hot.
Force Ghost Luke. Hot.
I'll take any version of Luke at this point. I really will.
They've got Force Ghost Luke.
I'll take holocron, like hologram Luke. Just give me Luke.
Yeah.
So she's training with Luke, and she's got those serious doubts about herself. She doesn't feel strong enough, and so she comes back and she starts talking to Finn, right? And Finn's like, "You gotta is it like what's going on here?" She's like, "Yeah, he's still there. He's in my head. I have nightmares every night." And he's like, "You've got to shut him out, Rey. He's too far gone. You can't save him." And then Rey, and this was one thing that they failed to do. I never understood.
Yeah.
Why the hell do you give a shit, Rey? Why do you give a shit about redeeming Kylo Ren? You know what never occurred to me, something in the movie certainly never explained, is that perhaps Rey has no family, and so her attachment is to the people, the family, much like Phantom Menace, the family that she chooses.
Yeah.
So the family that she chooses is Finn. But Finn wasn't beyond redemption, was he?
Yeah, I love that quote that they said you You can't change him, Finn says, and Ray responds, never too late to change. You taught me that. That is beautiful. That's so nice. These are those little things that like it tie those loose ends, all these like loose ends that were always, you know, the big issues from, you know, this movie. Everyone's wondering, how are you going to do that? That's a beautiful way to do that. And it builds on it.
It's a way to shape the mentality and help us to understand her as a character, to understand her motivations and her thought process to some extent. That's something that we never got. We never got in I'm sorry, but in The Force Awakens, in The Last Jedi, in The Rise of Skywalker, we never understood Rey's motivation for anything at all. She was just floating along at the whim of the story. This is a character developing moment, a moment between two characters where you get some insight as to who she is and how she's thinking. And that is essential. It's maybe too little too late, but I felt something for a moment.
Yeah, and that gives Finn's too, his character, because we see him chasing, yelling around for Ray, wanting to tell her something, and we get this little pivotal moment of sharing that intimate relationship and giving her hope because she doesn't have it.
And one little thing before we got to this scene, after the holocron scene with Kylo, when he gets like super like turned into Franken Kylo, I guess you could say. He was, you know, turned into the monster that he was becoming on the inside. They then, after that moment, they cut back to the Resistance base, Corlevair, and Leia then feels what had happened to Ben at that point, and she's with Chewie. And one of the things I loved about this little scene is they find out that the mission that everyone had done the very beginning scene in Kuwait, where they were trying to basically blow up the shipyards, they find out that they're coming back and they're returning, and Leia's looking off into the distance and starts to see the Star Destroyer coming. And I just think that that's just a funny little, you know, that little part was probably ripe for commentary. That would be kind of funny, I would assume. You know, that just seeing that in, you know, the Star Destroyer, the shock that they had witnessing that coming to their base at that point. Just thought that was funny. And then it goes into that conversation, like you were saying, Mary, with Ray and Finn. And then finding out that the Star Destroyer is loaded with
all kinds of goodies.
Imp gear. Yes. So sorry, I just wanted to mention that one part. I enjoyed that.
You're good.
We got a couple of super chats. TC the Mandalorian sent €5. Mary Stu once a month. Red Pure Midi-chlorian scented candles. Scream Ray for half price off.
Good night, you guys.
I can't
Also
do it.
try Rose Tico.
Y'all are hilarious.
No means yes. Lip balm. And
No
then we
means
also
yes,
got.
balm.
And then we also got a sticker from Mr. Roy for $10. It was a little dog squeezing a big red heart. So thank you very much,
Aw, thank you so
Mr.
much.
Roy, for that. So yeah, I'm heading back to the.
Aw. Poor Tom. That's right. Get out of here with your stinky testosterone. All right. So let me make sure I find my place here. I got a little bit left.
My testosterone scented candles will be on sale following.
Yes. Dude, we should totally make Toxic Femininity candles. Just saying.
Okay. What will they smell like though?
Not gonna smell like tuna, I'll tell you that.
Exactly.
It'll probably smell like Candace's hair.
Unicorns and
Dry shampoo. That's what it's going to smell like.
Dry shampoo.
Unicorns and product, guys.
Yep.
That's what it's gonna smell like. So let me see if I can find my spot here. I got a little bit. So
Probably blueberry too, because they keep falling on me. So sorry, I'm like eating while we talk a little bit because I'm like starving. So if you see me eating something, yes, I'm eating these. People were like, "What do you have in your mouth?" Yeah, there you go. Pineapple and berries.
That's what he said. What do you have in your mouth?
Oh gosh, what did I do?
flavored candles. If we do individual flavored candles, I'm calling cherry. Like I want cherry. That's all I'm saying. I want to
Cherry Mary. That should be that should be perfect.
Yes, and Candace can have blueberry and
I'm not having blueberry.
Alora's tangerine. Sorry, it's
Bright and sunshiny.
But back to the script, you guys.
Okay.
Thank you for the super chat, by the way. You always know how to throw us on a tangent with those super chats. So
yes,
keep them coming. We do love them, but we will try to stay on track for you guys.
Yes.
So,
So Rey is having a back and forth with Luke. She's very frustrated, right? With this back and forth. And so this actually comes back into play later on at the end of the movie, but it sets it up. It does what a good movie does. It sets something up and then it follows it through to the end, right? So it sets it up. She expresses her frustration of this light and dark pendulum, right? The light side's winning right now. Oh, the dark side's winning right now. Up, back to the light side. Then the light side's, the dark side's back here, guys, which I think we all feel to some extent here. As an audience member, I gotta tell you, I got a little whiplash from being ripped back and forth to, are the good guys winning? Are the good guys not winning? Are the good guys winning? Are the good guys not winning? We've been over this. We're at the 9th fracking movie. Shit or get off the pot, okay? We need to figure this stuff out. That's all I'm saying, right? So she's feeling this frustration and she's expressing it to Luke, this pendulum swinging back and forth between the light and the dark. And we need to settle somewhere. We need to settle somewhere, right? And so, Luke gives her a little pep talk, tells her, this is the way, right? And then she moves on and she has this conversation she has this conversation where she says, I spent my whole life looking for a family, and she has one now and she won't abandon them. Luke tells her the Force is speaking to her. Yeah. And Rey says, maybe I'm not who the Force thinks I am. And Luke says, well, who are you? And Rey says, I'm no one. Luke says, if you really believe that, then maybe the last Jedi is dead. And Rey says, maybe he is, which is, again, character building. This is a moment where you have two people sort of discussing the weight on this woman's shoulders. Who is she? Where does she fit in all of this? And her frustration with everything. And Luke trying to guide her. Luke trying to teach her and move her through this journey as best he can. It's a wonderful character building moment. So
been the continuity as well, because they developed her as a no one from the beginning. I didn't want her as a Palpatine. Yeah, they hinted as Skywalker because she found the Skywalker saber called to her. So we needed that continuity, not a retcon.
Yes, absolutely. And you got that. You nailed that on the head, Kevin Street. Oh, I get it. Rey is complaining about the pendulum swinging between light and dark because later she uses both. The Gray Jedi, the Ashla and the Bogan, that finding the balance, which is something I always thought would have been interesting to explore personally. So I felt like that was something good, something really good for them to go over here with this. So we'll move on to the next portion. She checks out her old Jedi texts here, right? The sacred Jedi text.
Yes. And instead of Force healing, what does she find?
She finds within that underneath of the old Jedi temple on Coruscant, there's a beacon, a Force beacon, if you will.
The ham radio of the Jedi.
Yes, it's old technology. It's old Republic technology. And so the problem that we're facing here within this current Star Wars is that the First Order has shut down all dialogue from planet to planet. They can't rally forces because the forces can't speak to one another. They don't know that there's been a call to arms. They've been shut down.
Kind of like Walmart. They do that for real. You know what?
No. What?
When they get their security systems, in quotations, they're not actually marked security system.
I didn't know that.
They're marked anti-union device.
I am not privy to the inner workings of Walmart.
Yeah, they try to make sure that nobody will start a union inside Walmart. But we do got a couple super chats.
That's funny.
Demogenize in the house. He says with $2 candles, I'd buy that for $1. Well, it'd be a lot more than $1.
They're gonna be more than $1.
They're gonna be a lot more than $1, my friend. Dark Apprentice sends us $5. That's probably not even gonna be enough. Just waiting for Daisy Ridley and Felicity Jones to launch some candles.
Oh Lord. Very soon.
They'll probably buy a bunch of them to Matt G sets if you get that joke. $2. Kylo to Rey. Star Wars is for epic kids, dog.
Dog.
Kids, dog.
Kids,
and
dog.
Hopefully I didn't miss any super
right.
chats. All right. I don't think I did. Hopefully. Okay. That will be all.
And I do want to address what Absent-Minded said. I do want to address what Absent-Minded said in the chat here. So he says, I love y'all, but this academic attempt to salvage this miserable tragedy of a story seems moot. Skywalker's all dead. Someone other than a Skywalker claims to be a Skywalker, and it's all up in flames. Well, that's actually not what we're discussing tonight, Absent. So I'm not sure if you're on the same page as us. And let me clarify here. What we're talking about here tonight is the Colin Trevorrow script for Episode 9, which would have been titled the Duel of the Fates.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Rey appropriating the Skywalker identity. We're talking about an entirely different exit to this saga, an entirely different story. Look, would it have done well? I don't know, because I don't see it on the screen. I can't tell you how it would have been executed, but I can tell you that this screenplay is absolutely better, in my opinion, than what it was that we got out of The Rise of Skywalker, because they took some of the parts of this screenplay and then turned it into something worse. Rey is not anyone, and she never appropriates their title. And you get an actual story and arcs and character. And Rey is not omnipotent and omniscient in this one. She isn't this OP. They almost take steps back with her, which in and of itself is somewhat of a continuity error, but they step it back with her a bit here. And they dial back her abilities a great deal. She has to train, and she's not doing it all on her own. And she is insecure, and she gets the hell beat out of her. She gets put through the mill in this script. And I'm not going to lie, that's something I needed to see. I needed to see Rey suffer. I needed to see Rey struggle. I needed to see a person in there. Right? I needed there to be a human being that I could relate to, not some all-powerful female who was powerful because of a vagina, right?
Yeah. Well, according to Kathleen Kennedy, no, we needed to see that. Us women, we needed a more powerful Mary Sue Rey, so we can have something that fulfills us, because we look at characters to fulfill us and make us feel whole.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's just how out of touch Kathleen Kennedy is.
Mm-hmm.
Kathleen Kennedy is out of touch so much with female that she thinks that that's what I need in order to be inspired on screen. Mm-hmm. But I'll never relate to that as a person. What I need to see is someone rough, someone who's got their knees scraped up a little bit, someone who's having some internal turmoil, someone who I recognize as having some issues and problems to sort out. Sort your shit out, girl, right? I got shit of my own to sort out. If I'm going to relate to you, I need to see you struggle in that same way. So yes, that's something that we do see.
One little quick thing I just want to mention too. This is going to be John Williams' final, Star Wars endeavor. He's retiring from Star Wars, or has since retired from Star Wars after this last one. How nice of it is to be able to have a title from one of his masterpieces that he did in the sequel trilogy. To have that be the final title of this movie too. I do believe that they might have made it there's just I love this title for a lot of reasons, and that's just another little thing I think too that just is a nice nod to him for that wonderful piece of work he gave us in the sequels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are many nods throughout the course of this. Look, am I saying that this would have been perfect up on screen? No, that's not what I'm saying. I won't know until I could have seen it, right? And we'll never be able to see this, but this at least, and this is the bare minimum that you can attribute to this, it did not completely and utterly undermine the sacrifice and the redemption of Anakin Skywalker. Something that The Rise of Skywalker absolutely do. I agree with you when you're in the chat and you're talking about appropriating the Skywalker name. I'm with you. I'm angry about that. It more than bothered me. It infuriated me. Who is this chick? Who the hell does she think she is? Murdering Luke's character, assassinating Luke Skywalker, taking his identity. You're sitting there in his you're sitting wearing his helmet, you little twat waffle. Get it off of your head. Who the do you think you are? Right? Like, that infuriated me. How dare you take his lightsaber and bury it in the sand? It should be in a museum. It should be a relic, something gawked at and admired and inspiring Jedi for generations to come. You stuck it in the sand, you moron. You're an idiot. You're not fit to lead anyone. You're not fit to start a Jedi order. You don't have any clue what you're doing. Why? It's a perfectly good lightsaber. Why would you do that? Oh, it's to bury Luke Skywalker. I get it. So you can kill him all the way and leave no memory of him because he was a myth 2 movies ago, and now you're going to make sure he stays that way because that's how it came across to me. So yeah, I was pretty ticked off by The Rise of Skywalker. This, if nothing else, this does something to try to keep some dignity.
it put him in the middle of literally the evil and good. He was literally playing in the middle between both of them in his death, attempting to sort of, do what he couldn't do in his life, at least in the last movie. And I thought that was a nice attempt to carry on his character arc. I thought it was a great way to do it, where he's literally Force Ghost haunting, Kylo and training Rey and trying to bring the two together in a positive way until he realizes that it's done, and Kylo is he didn't turn into Ben, which is I like Monster Kylo so much better.
Yeah, Luke wanted to basically, like I said, he's got the redeeming qualities not all Jedi have, and so that's the focus that they were focusing on here, not this hermit, grumpy old ass Luke Skywalker that comes back and now wants to change everything. So I mean, yeah, so this was a little bit more appealing compared to Rise of Skywalker Luke still.
Yeah. And we got a $5 super chat from AJ1218 says, does anyone else think Kathleen Kennedy's office smells like these special candles?
No.
I wonder if they are also lightsaber shaped for your inner. Sorry, I didn't get to finish that. For your inner what? I didn't get to finish the last one, Tom. You moved it. For your inner sit.
Oh, that's much better than what I was thinking. Okay. I didn't know where that was going. Why'd you put that back up, Tom?
Interesting. And then we got a $10 super chat from John Talks. He said, if I had these two scripts in front of me, The Rise of Skywalker and Duel of the Fates, and I was told only one of these were getting made and the other abandoned, I would have thought The Rise of Skywalker was bad fan fiction. Great panel and great talk. John, we got to get together. Man.
John's got to get up here sometime.
Yes, John. John's awesome sauce. And we love your face around here, man. Thanks so much for coming through and supporting us. I agree. The Rise of Skywalker is basically bad fan fiction, and it does a great deal to undermine. I will reiterate this: undermine Luke Skywalker by leaving him a myth, by burying him in the sand and appropriating his name and leaving him to be nothing more than the myth that he was. Right. So that's where they tried to leave that, and it's frustrating for us. So yes, we're frustrated with The Rise of Skywalker, and I do think that this is absolutely a better script by far. There are lots of things that you can point out at this. I'm not saying it would have been great. I'm not saying it would have been mind-boggling, but it is definitely better. $5 super chat from David Hervey says, although it's not a great screenplay, I understand why Daisy Ridley cried when she read it. This seems far better than The Fall of Skywalker. High five. Yeah. Absolutely. I did get emotional a little bit ago when Robert was talking about she's broken, right? Rey's broken and trying to crawl up these steps, her shattered body, right? I got emotional at that. Not because I think maybe because I always wanted to love these movies. I always wanted to be invested in the story. I always wanted to care for these characters. You made that impossible, Lucasfilm. You made it completely impossible for me to love Rey. But when you have her there broken, I will empathize with her as I would any living being. If you're laying there and you're broken, I'll care because I care about any person who's suffering. And that's what you should have done from get-go with her, is you should have allowed us to see her struggle so that we could empathize with this human being. Yes, I felt emotion because I'm not devoid of compassion inside. And that was all you ever needed to do, was give us a reason to have some compassion and concern for this character. So let's go ahead and move on. Yes. So Rey struggles. She doesn't feel strong enough with this. She talks to Finn about shutting Kylo Ren out. The sort of character interplay where you have these characters bounce off of one another and get to know these characters a bit more. Rey consults with the Jedi texts and discovers that the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, there's a communication system that predates the Old Republic. It functions kind of like the beacons do in The Lord of the Rings, where essentially like you light the beacon of Gondor, right? And so from one beacon to the other, where it goes across the galaxy, You see it light up and you get the message across. It's old technology, but it still works because it was well crafted. And I do like that. I like I actually said that earlier we were in a call, a chat, Laura and I, we were kind of trying to discuss this a little bit because there were some cringe moments in this, right? But I felt like this was a good callback because what they said in it was Finn says, there's no way it still works. And Poe says it's old Republic tech and it's better than the junk they use today. And I felt like that was a great callback to, they remember when you bought real wooden furniture back in the day, guys, and it still exists and it's antique furniture and it still works really well and you put it in your home and it functions.
They don't make them like they used to. That's all it comes down to.
That's like with Star Wars now. They don't make them like they used to.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'm going to call back on what she was saying about like going back to the Old Republic. You notice that this script is not only like calling back to the OT, it is also calling back to the PT. So we're not abandoning the PT as well, which is a beautiful thing. We want to, have those callbacks throughout the whole 6 movies that made this foundation.
Absolutely. They don't.
And I love how when they light this up too, just saying there's a scene that they talk about that when you see these beacons lighting up in the other various planets that it's positioned in, and you see planets with all these monks that just notice it light up, and then you see Bosk, because like we're just enjoying his his life as all the spoils of his bounties, he's like looking at it and he's curious, but he's like, the heck, he's kind of confused, like, why is that turning on? And I just thought it was kind of a fun, I can see a scene like that where you just see it and then you just get little pops of different worlds that we don't usually have, and that's a wonderful way to do that. I like it.
The reason that this beacon is valuable is because it undermines the chokehold on communication that the First Order currently has in place, because it predates the tech that they are currently using. They're not prepared to have to stop a beacon that is hundreds of years old, right? They're not going to have to handle that. And so, yes, it undermines that chokehold. They have the chokehold that is mentioned in the crawl, right? So set up well. And so,
the only ones that do notice that it did go off are the ones that are on Coruscant itself, which ends up getting the Knife 9, which is the ship that holds the Knights of Ren coming after to attack the group that lit it up. So that forces them to retreat to another planet, Bonadan. So I love their sequencing here that is logical and makes sense and ties things together logically and makes sense. And again, not a perfect script, but nice day difference from what we had. And it's just nice. It's refreshing to see that there is stuff like this still coming out of Hollywood, for one. It's good to see that. And it's just weird that they didn't pick it up more, but they did take little bits and pieces of it, but not enough to make it cohesive.
So then we head on. So this is where the part where the group kind of splits up, right? Everybody begins to sort of go their separate ways because they all have different things that they have to accomplish. So Kylo Ren heads off to go. Where the heck is it that Kylo Ren goes? It's in here somewhere. He goes off.
He heads to Ramacor.
Yes. He heads off to Ramacor
to go find the Sith guy.
Sith Lord. Yes, to find the 7,000 Sith Lord in order to kind of complete his training, right? Because he knows he's not been fully trained, and how the heck is he supposed to beat Rey, right? He's not powerful enough. So he goes ahead and heads off that way, and then you have Finn and Rose, R2-D2 and C-3PO head off to Coruscant in order to light the beacon of Gondor, guys, to send out that call to arms across the galaxy. Hey guys, it's time to form up. Go ahead and get your asses over here. We got some shit to do, right? They head off that way, and then it's a little vague here. Maybe you guys can fill me in on this. Rey heads off to try to sort out what she should be doing.
It was they went to Bogadon. That's to find essentially a seer, Bonadan. To go see a seer that could basically help her understand what she was needing to do. I suppose what's
unclear to me is what
Minority Report-ish.
What confused me here is what tipped her to go to a seer.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think that this was it didn't make it clear in his reading, but again, we only got basic.
Bits and
didn't go over all 200 pages, so
Yeah.
I mean, we got more chunks of the script earlier when he was here than I think he went over on his show earlier.
Yeah.
He
And,
really summarized.
Just to kind of summarize, because I know we have some few new people in the chat, we're going over the script leaks that Robert Meyer Burnett leaked earlier on his show, and he gave us a few more earlier on this show.
Be sure to watch, if you missed it, rewatch this from the beginning so that you guys catch that after the show's up.
Yeah, I'm going to fangirl that a little bit.
Right? I mean, he did really in depth of it.
Yeah.
I do want to address one comment I seen earlier that is long gone, so I can't bring it up anymore, and I apologize to the writer of it. They said they agreed with Gary, so I guess Gary must have said something on somebody's podcast or put out a video. I didn't see it yet. That he says that since Luke is not alive, he's not impressed. I got to reiterate and remind everybody that this script was dated 12/16, so chances are this is reflective of whatever was going on in The Last Jedi. You got to remember that. So Trevorrow was tied to whatever was going on in The Last Jedi. This was the week before Carrie Fisher passed away. I just wanted to reiterate that also for the people listening.
And look, I have to give props to Colin Trevorrow for being willing to push that Luke is the one who should be training Rey, dead or not. Right. And look, you can't you do have to recognize Obi-Wan Kenobi certainly had a hand in a lot of the shaping of Luke moving forward, even after he died. Right. He's the one who tells him to go to Dagobah. He's the one who drops the sister bomb on him. He's the one who's like, Luke, don't go. You know, if you go, there's no way that you're going to be able to defeat Vader. Right. And so there is a great deal of interaction that Obi-Wan Kenobi has here. So there's no reason to believe that Luke couldn't guide and shape Rey from the grave. Isn't that the point of having a Force ghost? Is having them there for guidance. So the whole point of having a Force ghost is having them there for that. We can't bring back Luke and have this be anything resembling coherent. So look, we got a movie that undermined and usurped everything that The Last Jedi did. It wasn't good, guys. It wasn't good. Yeah. You got that movie. You got it. And it wasn't what you wanted. So we have to try to make this make some level of sense. And I think that this screenplay does its best. Sorry, Chad, I sold all my softball candle girls. Your loss. Ew.
Oh,
that's okay. That's okay.
Put us on pre-order.
No. Yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, that's okay.
You can stick it in the car as somebody you don't like.
Bomb someone with some sweaty balls.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Sorry, I just watched Grumpy Old Men last night. For those of you who have ever seen that, you see them throw the dead fish in the back of one of the cars just to be angry at one of the others. It's a running thing. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah. All right. So Rey heads off with Poe, who apparently, this was not something I caught earlier in the actual first live stream, but something that we had Robert divulge to us. There's a flirtatious relationship between Poe and Rey.
Who would have thought?
Well, everybody loves Rey, right? Fine, whatever. She's not even that cute. Whatever, fine. Okay, but
they're antagonistic though, and this is just it's a different kind of thing.
Sure. I'm willing to overlook it. So she goes with Poe, and they head off to see a seer or a mystic who probes into Rey's mind and all of those nightmares that she's been having previously that she discussed with Finn, that Finn's telling her to try to shut out. They dive into those, and the seer seems to find like a star map. Okay, this is where you got to go in order to face off with Kylo Ren, because this showdown got to happen, y'all. So they pull that star map out, and she's on her way. While this is all going down, Rose and Finn manage to get the beacon lit, right? They managed to get that message out there. It doesn't go off for too long, but long enough to get the warning out. And then they're running around the underworld of Coruscant, and they run across all of these downtrodden, besought people who are ripe and ready for an uprising, who are ready to engage their taskmasters, their overlords who are mistreating them so horribly. And so they begin to sort of craft an uprising. Well, in the middle of all this, Rose gets captured, and they torture her. Yes.
She's taking sheer pleasure on that.
Damn, Mary. Tell us how you really feel.
Look, I have a reason, okay? And it's not because I'm an asshat, okay? It's because if you ever were going to do something to make Rose matter, you needed to
make her a hard-ass bitch.
You needed to make her suffer, and I needed to empathize with her, and I needed to see her go through something, not just be a twat, kissing people, giving little middle school kisses and talking about how you're not going to save it by destroying what we hate. We're going to save it by saving what we love. Fuck the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
You need to use your accent, the one you use for.
Oh, you're not going to destroy what the hell you guys love.
Holy shit. I can't.
You gotta say about what you love, okay? So,
okay. She came out with it. Right. Asking you shall receive Mary. I love it.
I don't give a shit. Yes. Yeah.
We've officially been canceled.
Yeah. Sorry.
Rollocat sends us €2 and just laughs.
You're in trouble.
Oh,
anyway. She is Xena Pulse. You looking like a man.
You looking like a man, okay? I'll tell you. So anyway, they capture Rose. They torture her, and she doesn't give up the nookie, guys. She's apparently a badass in this situation. She handles it like a pro and then manages to get away. Thank you. Finally, a reason to give a shit about Rose Tico. They get the uprising on Coruscant together. All that's going on. Leia hollers at her homeboy Lando. And she's like, hey, man, I need you to get those smugglers together because now's the time, right? So he pulls in all of his smuggler friends, and they're all getting ready to get ready. So you got Coruscant battle going on. You got a space battle going on. And then you got Kylo Ren versus Rey going on. And everything comes to a head, right? So everything finally starts to meet up. And in terms of the catastrophe that's going down on stream or on screen, everything begins to like correlate. And you see this is the finale, right? Let me go ahead and scooch on over to that page because I'm a little out of order here. So Rey gets Tabana done with Poe, blah, 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 blah. Leia gets Lando to organize the smugglers. Rose is captured and tortured. Finn and the droids, they go ahead and handle that uprising shit. Ren and Kylo Ren are not a dyad. They are not a Force dyad. They exist together. They've gone to Mortis. So for those of you who are not familiar with Mortis, this is a Force nexus. And it's where the Force is incredibly powerful, right? This is where they meet up at, and they go to head. And we had a really great rundown earlier from Robert, who kind of broke this down better than I really could have. Where
he read all the details.
Oh yeah, he read it. I wish I could convey it in the way that he did. I wasn't taking notes then.
They had a conversation there, you guys. It was pretty livid.
Yeah.
He was actually reading lines from the script in quotations that doesn't exist.
That's what it felt like. I saw him looking down at something. I'm just saying, the script that doesn't exist.
The way he read it was pretty thorough. Entertainment hackers, I think that's 100 yen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sent us. And
then, thank you, Entertainment Hacker.
That's $1.
And we also had one from Deranged Lunatic. He said, "You're killing me here, Mary."
I do it.
Killing you softly.
And one from Willie Woodward, $5. Why Mary wants to see Rose Tico tortured is tied directly to her search history.
What search history?
I do that on that incognito app, y'all.
I was gonna say she incognito with that. Trust.
I got all kinds of torture porn.
What did I get myself into?
Ladies. So they have it out.
You know, she went and checked out quicksand porn after the other night, too.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is all references to her other show, Shenanigans, you guys. I was on it this week as well. It was interesting. Yeah, I hope I come back sometime. Anyway.
Well, our Midnight's Edge After Dark regulars should know about quicksand porn. That's been a thing for a while. So.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I'm glad your regulars know that. I was introduced to it for the first time. So
I still don't know what it is. I'm still sitting here going, okay.
It's pretty much what it sounds like. Rob found it. I have never actually laid my own eyes on it, but he explained it to me, and I'm like, you literally just found the end of the internet. Like, there's no farther you can go.
I don't want to go there, Tom.
Nobody wants to get Sandy those places, so I don't understand that point. But okay,
Anakin would hate it.
I was gonna say I don't like sand. It's coarse, and rough, and irritating, and it gets everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So right up in your crack, y'all. So I'm just saying you're not getting that out later. And plus, I need to live with myself when this is over, guys.
Yes, Kevin Street, it really exists, at least according to Rob. I've not checked into it, but I'm willing to take his word on it. So
yeah, I'm not going to check on it. Y'all can go ahead and take his word.
Oh Lord.
So everything comes to a head. Everything comes to a head, and Kylo and Rey are fighting. Giggity.
Yeah.
And they're fighting it out. Luke shows up and does a measure of hey, Ben, don't do it. And Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi show up, and they're all sort of being supportive. I think this is probably where the Force Ghosts idea.
And also Leia is at the point asking Lando for help. That's what triggers Lando to have all of his smuggler friends coming with their ragtag group of smuggler ships. So yeah, that was and you were saying Finn and R2 and 3PO trigger the uprising in Coruscant at that point. So it's kind of like a whole bunch of stuff all in one little time frame of the screenplay where
back and forth.
You got a lot of things going in the favor of the rebellion. So
yeah, similar to Empire Strikes Back, where you have this back and forth with Luke training and Han and Leia trying to escape from Vader and their pursuit and stuff. And I can't help but imagine if Han was still alive and they're seeking Lando out to help. Imagine them teaming up together with the smugglers. I mean, I'm just throwing this out there. I get excited thinking about all that. Just imagine the impact that would have had.
And Chewie, including in it,
well, yes,
flying a friggin' TIE fighter.
Okay,
no,
X-wing. I thought it was an X-wing. Yeah. But look, that's okay. That's cringe to me. I'm sorry, but that's cringe. Like, first of all, Chewie's not a fighter.
He didn't get his ship. He's
not a fighter pilot.
He got a ship.
He's not a fighter pilot. He's a co-pilot. When have you ever seen Chewie get into the gunner position? Like, that doesn't. That was cringe. That was cringe. Okay.
Yeah, he would get in their pilot while Han and Luke, or maybe even Leia, are getting in the gunners shooting, and so he was more of just the co-pilot and the pilot when needed. There is no inkling in the lore that he's ever trained to fight or pilot the fighter.
Weird.
That is one break from lore that I wouldn't mind seeing, because I love Chewie, and I feel like I feel like to sell him with the ship was a horrible thing to do. And I think giving him something fun to do like that would be it's eye candy for me. But again, I am not a lore, I'm not one bound to the lore. But I do love it.
Hold on, Candace. I need you to stick this in your head here, okay?
I'll do the best I can, but no promises.
Okay, so you got Chewie in the X-wing, right? Sitting like this because he's too tall for the damn cockpit. Going pew pew pew.
There's a seat adjustment
without knowing what happens in the script. Without knowing what happens in the script, I can picture one of two things. Without having seen the script or knowing what goes on.
It looks ridiculous.
And that is, one, you have a high tower scene where he goes up to the X-wing and he literally rips the seat out. And he literally rips the seat out so he can actually fit in. Or like Mary said, he's all like cramped up in there. And before you even see him, somebody goes like red 6 coming through, red 4 coming through. And then all of a sudden you hear, and they're like, what the fuck was that? And then they all turn and you look. And like Mary said, you have Chewie all cramped up in the
I can't with this. Hold on. No. I can't with this, but on Candace's defense on that, we do, like in the lore, we have Lobaka, Chewie's nephew, who is a Jedi, who is a stealth X-wing pilot.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so so there, it could go both ways.
Oh god.
Please tell me that was there you go.
Yes. This is it. For the rest of the night. I don't give a shit. So that's not gonna work. You got Chewie in there like this.
He just goes like this to the seat. Just kind of go, dude. You can go down with it.
Hold on a second.
Come on now. They have to have seat hydraulics.
For those who don't know what I mean by high tower, if you've seen Police Academy, he rips the front seat out of the car so he can sit. And he sits in the back seat.
Okay with that. I would love to see him rip something out.
So like I said, because you got to do one or the other, because the other surprise doesn't work if you already know he's in an X-Wing. Yeah. So you either do the one joke or the other. You either have to have him. Yeah. So that was my point with that.
I think it's funny.
I really don't think it works, and I have to apologize. I had to go put that thing back off. That was
Chewie, you never trained to pilot a fighter, so yeah, I get it.
yeah.
So.
I don't think I would have enjoyed that. I think that would have been silly and stupid. Give Chewie something to do, sure, but don't cram him into an X-wing. What are we talking about here? Right? So
he got especially, you know, a Wookiee modded X-wing.
Willie's like, you're gonna give me weird dreams tonight, Mary. Sorry.
That's the only dream she gives me too, so it's okay. They're not bad. They always end well.
Yeah, it's usually ends in cherry scented candles. So all right. So I mean, yeah, that's basically how it winds up. Is that, you know, you have the face off, and then, you know, Kylo Ren is redeemed to the light. Blah blah blah. Of course, he dies, as he really should die, because I can't imagine him going back to Coruscant and be like, hi guys.
So what's going on?
Just want to say sorry. This could have gone better, and I apologize. So, and then of course you have the big space battle. They win, and then the uprising and all of that jazz, and that's how this all sort of closes out. This was better. This was better.
And Han Solo did appear. Just so you know, there was Han Solo. He would have been there. He would have confronted Kylo at some point as well. So that was also in there, but he didn't really mention it. That was one of my questions I had for Robert, but he left. I wanted to get more information on it.
Yeah, there are some things that we don't quite fully understand, because look, we don't have the script right in front of us. We're working off of extensive notes that were taken during the live stream that he did earlier, and then of course what he brought to the table earlier during the discussion. And bless his heart for being here. And in case you were watching, so cool. So, but yeah, this I still really feel like, oh, hold on. You want a happy ending? I don't know why I said that shit.
Y'all did it.
There you go. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that shit again, guys. Forget it.
Not without a good, healthy super chat. Nope.
Oh yeah.
Go to shenanigans.
Go to shenanigans.
Yeah, go to shenanigans. That's where you can find that.
Shenanigans is every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Where's my $20?
10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. Yes, on Saturday nights. But yes, yeah, I still feel like there are issues. Obviously, for me, there was an issue with, you still have Force ghosts interacting with the real world around them, where Luke grabs the blade, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that shouldn't be happening. That should not be happening.
No,
but it's no worse than what we got in the Rise of Skywalker, where they're doing all kinds of stupid shit that they have no business doing, like catching lightsabers there too. And freaking Palpatine is dead, but he's not dead, but he's still alive, but he's almost dead, guys. And he's Force lightning the freaking ships all up above, and that's some really great aiming ability you got over there. But there are far too many more issues within the Rise of Skywalker for me to nitpick this.
right.
Yeah, this again sticks with the continuity, doesn't do damage within its own sequel trilogy, and pays homage to the past 6 movies. I mean, we're not, you know, and it also pays homage to the Disney canon lore instead of retconning everything. And yeah, we may see a little bit of Legends in there, but, you know, again, they decided to put Legends off to the side and build their own canon. So at least this is sticking to their continuity. So I'll give them that with this.
Yeah. This is certainly, I think that this certainly has a lot more respect. If not a little bumbling in places, if not even a little bit.
Well, we didn't even get the full thing. We just got.
Yeah.
We didn't even get. We don't have any connectors or anything. We just have scene summaries, and that's it. So it's hard to make judgments beyond the conceptual elements of this screenplay.
Sure. But either way, you still have blatant examples of legitimate character development and growth, as well as interaction between these characters. And if you're going to shove Rose Tico front and center, give her something to do. Give her something to fracking do. And so you've got Rey beaten and bruised and bloodied on some steps trying to crawl her way up there. Yes, please. Yes, more please. Yes. To see her suffer in at least the same way that I saw Luke suffer. Why? Because equality, motherfucker. That's why.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we needed throughout the whole damn thing. We got let down. And so now we're over here nitpicking everything and wishing and what ifs. And it's the end. We aren't going to get no more of it. It's the end. And it wasn't even about Skywalkers. It wasn't fucking about Skywalkers.
It was about Ray
I'm
Palpatine.
pissed about that.
Ray Palpatine, who buried Luke Skywalker's legacy in the sand on an outer rim planet where no one will ever find it.
And that is friggin' tragic.
That's what.
And then kick some old lady out of the house she was squatting in.
Yeah.
I don't care about that old lady. I care. I'm sorry. I don't know.
That lady gives a shit, and so do her 17 cats.
I don't care. I don't know that lady.
Willie Woodward sent $2 and said, "Thank you, Mary. Period. Love you. Period."
Not doing that again. We lost like 40 viewers.
Laura, you can read that one.
Okay, Larry at $1.99, $1.99. Good super chats are always good. Mary, Mary, joy, joy. Mary, Mary, joy, joy.
Happy,
Okay, there's my dance.
happy. So, yes. Holy Toledo. So that runs it down, and I think we've covered the commentary portion of the evening.
Yeah.
I think we've definitely covered the commentary portion of the evening. But this was a ride. This was a ride tonight, ladies. And
Real quick, I'm just curious about the chat, guys. Put one if you think this concept, this kind of concept, the scenes we were giving you generally, if you thought that would be a better ending. I'm not saying salvage anything, but one in the chat if you think this would have been a better ending than what we got. 2 in the chat if you think the Rise of Skywalker was adequate.
So
I'm just curious.
Well, one for
Do it.
Duel of Fates
for the Rise of Skywalker. So and
we
based
got
on
one.
Yeah.
One. I like this. I mean, yeah, it's weird to see. Look at this. 1.5. It's so weird to see that there was so much like great cohesiveness to this. There was continuity, cohesiveness. There was like logic in the relationships that were taking place. And it's just why did they go? It's just I wish I knew what the definitive reason why they didn't do why KK or whoever was like nah.
Well, I can give you a pretty good idea as to why it was, because this never presented Rey as an OP Mary Sue. It never presented her as being the end all be of all things. It also didn't allow Luke Skywalker to be as undermined as he was in the other version. It didn't elevate Princess Leia to the role of Jedi and essentially usurp Luke Skywalker, right? It wasn't female centric enough. That's why this movie never saw, because the creative differences boiled down to Kathleen Kennedy's feminist agenda. That's my opinion, and you can take it or leave it, whether you like it or not. But at the end of the day, that's what we got. We got OP Mary Ray Sue, whose training was stupid and pointless because she's freaking blindfolded, walking across chasms on a rope, swinging around a freaking lightsaber. Why the hell does she need training at this point?
You know, I'm kind of curious if JJ's extended versions had any other parts pulled from this because it sounds like some of this would have made sense even in the cut that we did get, because it seemed that was just so choppy. It felt like there was parts of this that if they had that in there, like even it with the rest of it, I'm not saying the rest of it where it went was still awful, but it felt like some of these scenes were part of the movie. So
and on top of that, with George Lucas's cut too, when he went in there and helped, we had more. We had the son in there, so they still kind of pulled from this. That's why Trevorrow is getting credit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no doubt. We had a $5 super chat from AJ1218. He says, Chewie got fracked the worst in the new movies. He watched Han die, saw Ben fall, missed Leia die, and saw a hussy steal his ship. But hey, he got a medal. No, I agree. I absolutely agree. Chewie, I think that what they thought was, oh, if we stick a fake out Chewie dying scene in there and we let Rey scream, "Die!" Right? That if we do something like that anybody's going to feel any measure of weight or importance for his character, even though you've spent the last 3 movies pretending like he doesn't exist. But now you want to act like he matters and give him a medal and stuff. No, let him do something. He hasn't done anything. He walked past Leia in your first movie of this new trilogy. He walked past Leia when Han died and you had her hug a complete stranger. That's what you did to Chewbacca. No, that's not respect. That's not love. That's not what this character deserved. Yeah, you fucked him in the left ear, and yeah, I'm pissed about it. $5 from Dr. Jagus. Dr. Jagus says, "New fandom menace candles." Here we go again. New fandom menace candles. The cherry mayhem. The cherry mayhem. Uncle E's apple pies. Tom's Nutter Butter surprise. Ah!
I like Nutter Butters, actually.
Cecil hungover morning. Ryan burned and toasted buns. The only one.
So then Jeremy's would be above average pralines and peen.
Okay.
Why do we always have to talk about peen on every channel? I swear.
Because Jeremy is all about the peen.
Okay.
Jeremy's got nothing to do with this. I'm just saying.
I don't care. And then Andre, what are we going to give him? He's going to have
what's special? What's a special flavor only for where he's at?
Yeah, what's a special
Norwegian? I don't know. What's something
there's
that's
like chocolates and stuff too, right?
specifically Norwegian?
I know
Yeah,
Swiss,
something
though, they do.
chocolate.
But they do special chocolates.
We could do like a Viking thing or whatever. Sail the high seas, Viking breeze.
Yeah, I like that. Or
Yeah.
salted dark chocolate, like salted
We
chocolate.
haven't found one for candy. Should we get candy scented?
Candy has to smell like it literally has to smell like candy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I said like candy canes
Fruity
or
Pebbles.
some sweet candies. Fruity Pebbles, that works. That works. Angry apples. We already got apples on Ethan's. So all right, we spent way too much time on these fucking scents.
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah, everyone's like, check y'all later.
Well, I stopped looking at cherry.
But the viewers went up a little bit, so
Oh, really? Well, how y'all doing? Tell
our
us.
views have been all over the place
channel should
tonight.
we
I don't
follow?
know what's going on. If it's YouTube, I mean, I don't know.
You never know with YouTube these days.
Andre's Frankensteinian mess scented. Just a ramshackle of tropical, like a not tropical fruit, fruit punch. There you go. It's a Frankensteinian mess. Yeah, if you like Nutter Butter, check out Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. Tis the bomb, tis the bomb. And so I seen that, and I was like, I just don't know. You know, peanut butter's fine on other. I don't know about the drink.
You know, if I had to pick one for me, though, I'm just gonna say toasted marshmallow. That's one of my favorite desserts. I literally, you guys, like, if you want to know the way to my heart, I literally I have a stick that I do kebabs, and I turn on a flame in my house, and I toast a goddamn marshmallow, and I'm like, I'm in heaven.
Not Candace.
I think this super chat just brought it full circle.
Hold on. I have to say this before we lose the moment. Candace, not to encourage the shippers in the chat, but I will toast your marshmallows any day, my dear. Ship away, guys.
Yes.
There you
I'm
go.
fucking dying over here because of this shit.
Chat from AJ1218 says Norwegians are into rotten fish, so vagina candles. And I'm gonna
here.
That's right where we started from. That's like I said, we're back around to the beginning.
full circle.
I love it.
Full circle. Fuck. Kai MFS for $5 says, now you know. Check it out. What are
And
we
I think you sent me enough. I probably couldn't afford it. The peanut butter drink. I will try it. I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll
gotcha.
see.
So I'm going to throw this out here since we're talking about desserts a little bit. So we have Candace's toasted marshmallow. So
Absolutely.
I love chocolate. So we're talking s'mores. So I'll be the chocolate in the s'mores. You, Mary.
I'll be
we got a Nutter Butter instead of a graham cracker.
No. Candace will be the marshmallow and I'll be the graham cracker.
Yeah, and I'll be the chocolate melting all over.
Ooh, nice.
Yay.
We'll be the show that gives you some more of what you're looking for.
There we go.
More toxic femininity.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah, Jeremy would smell like waffles. Yeah.
Yeah. Waffle beans. Oh.
It doesn't have to have the peen then, just waffle.
Maple flavored beans. Ugh.
Any dessert that requires fire, I think it's fun. Flambe, a baked Alaska. What else? I could keep going. Bananas Foster.
Over there with
For some reason,
toasted marshmallow. I love fire with dessert.
Fire. She likes fire.
Rob's not even a big drinker, but I still think his would still smell like beer
Creme
for some
brulee.
reason.
Creme brulee is good, Mason. I'm sorry. Y'all are making me so hungry. Y'all don't even know. Like, I am having a rough time of it right now. I am so hungry.
Questioning my life choices at this point.
She's getting hangry down there.
I'm like, let's end this. I need to go make a trip somewhere and go grab some marshmallows.
Yeah. I think did we cover everything pretty much that you guys wanted to cover?
We're just talking dessert.
Wow, what a show. I mean, I had an idea that Rob might show up. I didn't expect him to. He did, and not only did he show up, he dumped a lot on us that I didn't expect.
I'm gonna rewatch it.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. That was magical. Thank you so much.
And like Deranged Lunatic, I'd also pay good money to see that three-way s'mores.
Yum.
Yummy.
As Harv Guy says, Toxic Femininity.
Femininity.
It doesn't come out right, but it reads just fine. I know
It
what I'm
does.
saying. Nom nom nom. All right. So, ladies, it's been a hell of a night. What do you say we shut this down?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Go.
You guys are amazing in the chat tonight, by the way, guys.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you so much. You guys have been great. OG Star Wars Legends Gal, why don't you start with telling the folks where they can find you?
All right, ladies and gents, I am your Legends girl trying to make it in this discounted world, and you can find me at the OG Star Wars channel focusing on EU lore. And the latest video I have up is about Force Ghost and comparing and contrasting between both lores and how much they had or not decanonized, but broke the continuity. Yeah, I could spit that shit out, right? And so come over here and subscribe, follow me on Twitter. You guys are amazing. Love you guys so much. I'm your chocolate to your s'mores.
There you go. And of course, I threw her link in the chat. Geeky Candy, why don't you tell the fine folks out there where they can find you?
I just had a really bad thing I was going to say, but I'm not going to. Sorry. When you're like the chocolate to the s'mores, I'm like, yeah, just put a stick in me. I'm the marshmallow to your s'more. No, that doesn't work like that. Candace.
She just said she wasn't going to say it, and then she says it. That's what
I
I know.
apologize. My mind wouldn't let me. Now I'm good. I cleared it. Now I'm ready to do my outro. Yeah, I'm Candace, aka Geeky Candy. I talk Star Wars and other things. I'm Batman. I'm probably going to do Black Widow soon because I think they just had a new trailer pop out. And just finished Fallen Order last year. I play video games, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare. I need to play some more, but I just started the Witcher series 2 on my channel, Witcher 3 rather, but also on my channel. And you can check me out on Twitter. I always post notifications when I go live. Subscribe to me too, so you get them there. And look forward to chatting with you all soon.
All right. And last but definitely not least, the mistress of mayhem, Mary B herself. Tell the fine folks out there where they can find you.
Well, hi guys. I am Mary B. I am the mistress of mayhem, disruptor of the narrative, and official Whammon card holder. You can find me over on my channel, Mary Mayhem. I talk about newsy news stuff during the weekdays, and on the weekends we do things like shenanigans. We have a little bit of fun and give you an alternative to go into the movie theater and seeing that ridiculous woke episode on the screen in front of you, and you have an option. You can go somewhere and do something else. I am absolutely thrilled to be a part of both this team here on Midnight's Edge and my cohort down below me, Geeky Candy, is also a member of Geeks and Gamers with me as well. So you can find me over there on that channel as well on a pretty regular basis. So be sure to check me out on any of those channels at any given time because I'm all over the place. So.
All right. So once again, I want to thank you guys for watching us here on Toxic Femininity, brought to you by Midnight's Edge. We are here every Monday night at 9 Central. Do remember to check us out every week. Make sure you're subscribed and that like button is slammed because it helps us get around the algorithm stuff. Take care, everybody.